I was looking up nuclear weapons testing.
The nights really fly past in your house, don't they, Tom? I've said it before.
It's interesting, though, isn't it, that suddenly we're entering a new era of nuclear weapons?
You know, frankly, Tom, I find it less interesting and more scary.
Have you got the lead paint out for the curtains yet?
Not yet, but I mean, I'm old enough to remember when we were told that, you know, you had to go and hide under a door.
Under the table or the door, yeah.
And that was going to help if they not dropped a nuclear bomb on you. I just find the whole story really scary. I read it this morning and then I kind of tried to unread it and I couldn't.
There was a nuclear weapons testing treaty that came into effect in 1996. That's the year I was born. Since then, there have only been 7 nuclear weapons that have been detonated, 5 by North Korea, 2 by Pakistan and 1 by India. It's not a common thing. Basically, it's just, in the last decade or two, it's only really been North Korea that tests nuclear weapons.
And they're sane.
But now it looks like Russia's getting back at it, that the United States is getting back at it. Are we in for a bit of a new nuclear era?
Happy Thursday, everybody. Thank you so much for your company today. We are talking about some fun stuff as well. Aren't we?
Are we,
Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you and I, we never have fun on this show.
No.
We never do anything
very,
silly.
very miserable.
It's always deeply serious.
I did think you'd like the nuclear story, and you could actually maybe do the whiteboard thing where you could draw some rockets. I know you quite like drawing rockets.
We could do a 60-second whiteboard challenge on nuclear testing.
On nuclear war.
Oh, maybe I could describe the process of nuclear fission.
I think that would be absolutely cracking. If you'd like to vote against that idea, though, and please do, gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved in the conversation. Nuclear war, immigrants, migrants, and the awful, you know, are the government putting illegal migrants who come across in those boats before you, your family and your rights? Well, what do you think on that one? We're delving down into that on the show today. Obviously, we're talking about poppies as well, because that's a very lovely thing. And I think you're going to eat something fairly vile at the end of the show, aren't you?
Oh, that's a surprise, though. We'll keep you on your toes for that one. On your toes. That's a phrase, isn't it? Well, gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved in all of these conversations and so much more. But in the meantime, let's get those very latest news headlines with Tatiana.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. The top stories: the Prince and Princess of Wales have slammed grossly intrusive paparazzi images of their children on a French skiing holiday earlier this year. A court has ruled a French magazine has breached the privacy and image rights of the royal couple and their children. Paris Match magazine published an article on the 16th of April this year which included long-lens paparazzi photographs and intrusive details of a private family holiday in the Alps. The Prince and Princess sued the magazine for the breach of privacy. The court has ruled that Paris Match had infringed their privacy and image rights. Campaigners have instructed lawyers to consider a private prosecution against Prince Andrew over allegations of sexual assault, corruption and misconduct in public office. Campaign group Republic has long called for the police to investigate and prosecute Andrew and has criticised the political response to the scandal as weak, deferential and inadequate. The group has now taken the unprecedented step of instructing a law firm private prosecution specialist to investigate and, if appropriate, commence a private prosecution. It comes amid increased pressure on the royals amid renewed controversy over Andrew's links to the late paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. Prince Andrew has denied all allegations against him, gave up his titles earlier this month ahead of the publication of the memoirs of Virginia Giuffre. A former Afghan asylum seeker allegedly stabbed 2 people he was lodging with and murdered a passerby, according to prosecutors. Safi Dawood appeared in court this morning charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. He's been remanded in custody. Emergency services were called to Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge in West London early on Monday evening to reports of a multiple stabbing. The 22-year-old suspect was tasered and arrested at the scene. Despite the efforts of medics, 49-year-old Wayne Broadhurst was pronounced dead at the scene, having suffered multiple stab wounds. He was a local resident who'd been out walking his dog when he was attacked. 2 other people, a 45-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy, were also stabbed and injured. The court heard how the accused had been living with the 45-year-old and the teenager at a house in Midhurst Gardens. Sir Keir Starmer has dismissed calls for an investigation into Chancellor Rachel Reeves after she apologised for admitting to breaking housing rules when renting out her family home. The property in Southwark was let for around £3,200 a month after she moved into Downing Street following last year's election win. But the area requires landlords to hold a selective licence, which Ms Reeves didn't have. A spokesperson says it was an inadvertent mistake made through a letting agency and that she's since applied for the licence. Kemi Badenoch says Rachel Reeves should be sacked if she raises taxes in next month's budget. Speaking at a pre-budget rally, the Conservative leader accused Labour of breaking promises and delivering high taxes and out-of-control spending. It comes after Sir Keir Starmer refused to repeat his pledge not to raise income tax, national insurance or VAT at Prime Minister's questions yesterday, fuelling speculation of tax hikes to plug a £20 billion black hole in the public finances. Labour insists the Conservatives have no credibility on the economy, saying their focus is on fixing the long-term damage and putting money back into people's pockets.
Very happy for you to scrap business rates, just like Mel described, put it in the budget. Let's have a budget of good news this November, not another budget of bad news. Our golden economic rule: finding savings, scrapping stamp duty, scrapping business rates for high streets, and then making sure we get control of spending. So that's my message to Rachel today. I know you've got a lot of problems now with the new issues with being a landlord and messing up your lettings, but no one is interested in your problems. We need you to solve our problems. If she puts up the tax, give Reeves the axe. Thank you.
In other news, the Prisons Minister has defended paying migrant sex offender Hadoush Kabatu £500 to agree to his deportation, calling it a sensible decision to avoid further disruption. Lord Timpson told peers the payment was an operational call made by officials, saying it was far cheaper than keeping him in prison for another year, which would have cost £54,000. But Conservative and Lib Dem peers branded the payment unacceptable and unprofessional, demanding to know whether ministers are running a secret slush fund to pay deportees. Kabatu, who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl and a woman in Essex, was deported to Ethiopia this week with no right to return to Britain. And finally, the UK is preparing flights to bolster commercial capacity and transport British nationals out of Jamaica. The UK government will launch a flight registration form for British nationals to register their details and interest in flights. Follows the announcement that the UK has deployed emergency hurricane relief to the Caribbean. At least 34 people have been killed after Hurricane Melissa tore through the Caribbean, leaving widespread destruction. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper says the strong links between the UK and Jamaica mean many British nationals were there during the devastation of the hurricane. She says we need to ensure they can get safely home. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews Financial Report.
And here's a snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3184 and €1.1349. The price of gold, £3,019 and 0 pence per ounce. The FTSE 100's at 9,717 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 9 minutes past midday. Now, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is not having a good day. No, she admitted breaking local housing rules by renting out her London home without the required licence.
It can happen. The property in Southwark was let for around £3,200 a month after she moved into Downing Street following Labour's election win last year.
Well, let's get to the bottom of this story now with the chief political correspondent for The Times, Aubrey Allegretti. Aubrey, it's not a big financial scandal. It's not on the level of Angela Rayner's tax avoidance, but this is deeply embarrassing for a Chancellor who campaigned for these very same licensing rules in her constituency.
Certainly. I mean, she can't really claim to have been completely surprised by these rules. They were brought in 2004, and that basically meant that councils said to people that wanted to rent out their house or flat that they had to apply for a licence. And that was designed to encourage people basically to make sure that the houses that they were renting were fit for human habitation and suitable for people to be actually living in. I think in 2021, that's when Southwark Council, in which Rachel Reeves is house was, that's when they brought in these rules. And then it was expanded effectively to sort of cover her area and her house in 2023. So she was even tweeting about Leeds City Council using these licensing powers and expanding them earlier this year. So she should sort of be aware of the general principle, even if she wasn't completely on top of her finances. But after we've lost a housing secretary and, don't forget, a homelessness minister as well over various housing scandals, it's just a bad look for ministers not to be on top of their own personal responsibilities.
I mean, it's not that this is a serious matter, because failing to obtain a licence when required, which is what she's done, is a criminal offence and punishable with an unlimited fine on prosecution of up to £30,000. So it is a serious offence here. It is a criminal offence, and she knew about it. And even if she didn't know about it or had forgotten about it, I mean, you know, ignorance is no defence in the eyes of the law.
Certainly, exactly. Negligence is still a really important factor. And when you try and compare and contrast this with, say, what happened to Angela Rayner, she was effectively forced to resign because there was an investigation conducted by the Prime Minister's ethics advisor in which he found that she had acted basically quite carelessly by not getting very good advice in terms of what stamp duty was owed. In this case, Rachel Reeves appears to be saying, well, it was all organised through a lettings agent. I thought they knew what they were doing. So if there are questions to be answered, it will be the paper trail. Did she take all steps reasonable and necessary to effectively avoid this kind of mistake happening in the first place, and make sure that the lettings agent was being asked, have you conducted all of the right checks? Instead, it seems we're not going to get any of that process. We had an exchange of letters between number 10 and number 11 last night, which basically said the Prime Minister's ethics advisor didn't think there was a case to answer here. So it's all being swept under the carpet.
I have to say, my heart skipped a beat when I got the email through. It was close to midnight last night, and there was an exchange of letters. Normally, when there's an exchange of letters between the Prime Minister and one of his cabinet ministers, it means there's been someone sacked. Clearly not the case here. But my goodness me, there was quite the operation from number 10 late last night to try and put this to bed, or at least keep a lid on it.
Certainly. I mean, the Angela Rayner row went on for several days at least. And when this story broke in the Daily Mail yesterday, I think there was a real effort by Downing Street to contain any political fallout, to effectively try and put as much information out into the open as possible, to confirm that Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer had met to discuss it last night, to confirm that Keir Starmer had met with his ethics advisor and been told that there was no need for a proper investigation, and for Keir Starmer to confirm effectively that Rachel Reeves was going to be safe in her job. We've seen before how when the Chancellor seems unstable in her position, that can have some really quite damaging consequences and effects. You remember when she was crying during Prime Minister's questions, there was speculation that she might be out of her job then. There was a lot of concern amongst city traders about her being ousted. And particularly this close to the budget, all eyes are on Rachel Reeves, every move she makes and her position being completely secure. Keir Starmer said she's going to serve in that job for the full 5 years of this Parliament. So he's almost tied himself to her. But this does go to show that errors and mistakes might potentially blow both of them off course.
Aubrey, do you genuinely see a difference in between what happened to Angela Rayner and what Rachel Reeves? They're both blamed outside parties. In one, it was the people that did the conveyancing, the surveyor on that. In this, it's the local authority. They're both shifting the blame onto other people. They're both saying, well, I didn't know, it was someone else's responsibility. I don't see that much difference between these two stories.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a little bit too early to say exactly how much Rachel Reeves knew, because we probably want to see the documentation and get proper statements from her about exactly when she started renting out this building. We believe it was in September last year, so around a year after the local council effectively extended the area where you needed this special licence to cover her property, and then more about what undertakings she had from the lettings agent, that it had conducted all reasonable checks. I mean, as Chancellor, you know, she's not sort of in direct control of housing policy in the same way that Angela Rayner was, but you would expect her to know about this, not least because in her own area of Leeds, where she's an MP, she had been promoting the council extending this scheme. So it is something that she should have known about. And I suspect there will be much pressure from opposition MPs for her to sort of publish her dealings with this lettings firm and any other sort of documents that may have been signed or provided about what she knew when.
She knew enough about the subject, didn't she, to raise stamp duty on buy-to-let homes from 3 to 5% in their first budget, so she can't claim complete ignorance, can she?
No, absolutely. And she's coming up to the budget in which there is much discussion about how to be able to raise revenue to fill that sort of £30 billion black hole from property. And one of those examples is, of course, a mansion tax that's being looked at, potentially levying a fee on properties worth over £2 million. The government's been really reluctant to get too far towards wealth taxes because it's quite difficult to sort of extract money from intangible assets like that. How do you take money out of a house each year? You can't just sort of sell it. But I think the government thinks that a sort of £2 million mansion tax might be in the region of where actually people do have a bit more disposable income to be able to pay, and they think that it would be politically popular as well.
Well, keep an eye on that space. But Aubrey Allegretti, Chief Political Correspondent for The Times, thanks indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry. I just think our politicians of any bent at the moment, when they talk about ethics, they think it's a county near Kent. I just don't think any of them got a grasp of ethics. It's all
amazing.
Do as I say, don't do as I.
Well, this is the extraordinary thing. Politicians like Rachel Reeves have campaigned to introduce what I view as ridiculous licences, like the number of things you need a licence for in this country to go about, you know, your own business. I mean, to rent out your own house, to have a fishing rod, to have a television, to...
David Lammy forgot about the fishing rod one, didn't he, as well?
He did. I mean, we have far too many licences in this country. Yeah. We're too licensed.
We have a licence to thrill, though, don't we, Tom? So let's talk about the next story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Chancellor is reportedly considering a 2p rise in income tax in a move that would breach Labour's manifesto.
Yes, Kemi Badenoch says that Rachel Reeves should be sacked if she raises taxes in next month's budget, as she's expected to do.
Yeah, joining us now is financial and market analyst at the City Index, Fiona Cincotta. Fiona, good to see you. Thank you very much. What do you make of this one? Another reverse ferret on the manifesto pledges?
Yeah, I mean, politically speaking, it's not a good look going back on manifesto pledges. Obviously, this is just being floated at the moment. We won't know really what's going to happen in that budget until that fateful day on the 26th of November. But it does feel like the government has pushed itself into a bit of a corner where options are limited. So economically, this is going to be quite a challenging decision as well. I mean, fiscally, the UK is in a very fragile position, and it's frustrating, actually, that we're here. It does feel like there has been a spending problem. I mean, if we just look at sort of public sector net borrowing for the September figures, we're out just the other week, it was at £20.2 billion. That was up £5 billion from the previous month. It was the second highest on record. So, you know, huge net borrowing going on here, which when combined with that weak growth that we're seeing, it does mean that we're in a very fragile position. And it does also mean that options are limited as to what the government can now actually do in order to sort of fill this black hole that we've been discussing for so long.
A sort of political story about when the Lib Dems used to campaign for a 1p increase in income tax. And the story goes that this was a really popular policy because people genuinely believed it was adding 1p to the amount of tax that they would pay. What would it actually look like if, as reported, 2p is put on income tax in this country?
So, I mean, it does mean that obviously those people paying income tax from their PAYE in their jobs or even self-employed would be looking at, or you put me on the spot with the exact figures. I think it's around, if you're around £35,000 a year, then you'd be looking at around a £20 a month increase in tax. But as I said, you've put me a bit on the spot here. This is at the top of my head. And obviously for higher rate payers, that would be considerably more. And also, if there is this question as well as to, you know, with the tax-free limit being left where it is as well, that obviously also drags more people into paying tax. So it's sort of a double hit, if you like, in some respect. But I think the problem that we're looking at, as I said, is, you know, I think we are in a difficult situation. It does feel that perhaps the only way to really be able to plug these huge black hole figures that we're talking about, 20 billion, 30 billion, these are massive numbers, would be by actually addressing a big tax such as income tax, VAT. But obviously that does go against what they've been pledging that say they'd do. And I think that must come hand in hand with more control on spending, because, you know, spending debt to GDP at the moment is around 95%. Pre-COVID, it was around 70%. That just highlights the level of ongoing spending that we're experiencing.
Fiona, thank you very much. That's financial market analyst at the City Index, Fiona Sincotta there. Thank you very much.
It's extraordinary, isn't it, that politicians simply pretend that there is nothing that can be done about the inexorably rising spending in this country, that spending has to go up and up and up every year, and that they can't possibly cut spending. I mean, it's extraordinary. No household works like that.
To be fair, they did try. It didn't work, did it? And guys, let us know what you think. GBNews.com/your say. This is our Good Afternoon Britain. I had to think what the show was called, and I always do.
It's written right behind us.
I know, but I'm looking there. I'm looking in front. I'm looking at the viewers.
Right, yes, no, of course. Very important.
Exactly.
But still, lots more to come on today's programme.
President Trump signals he could resume US nuclear weapons testing for the first time in decades. What could it mean for the world? But after the break...
Migrants deported to France are already trying to come back to Britain. Lawyers say some were left homeless and are now waiting in Calais to cross over all over again. Are the return flights really working?
GB News, Britain's news channel. Don't go too far. We'll see you soon.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
360,000 people are without a home, thousands of whom are on the street, but most are living in terrible, terrible conditions, bedsits, awful B&Bs above rows of shops and hostels. 160,000 of those are children. Can you imagine trying to perform at school or in your job? And this is a crisis, Dawn, and it costs billions. That's the worst thing. We spend about £4 billion a year dealing with this, and it's just getting worse and worse.
Well, let's talk about those 160,000 children, because that's the thing that affected me when I read it this morning. Couldn't believe the numbers of children that are homeless in this country. How is this happening, Andy?
What's happening, Ellie? It's complex, but the biggest single issue, the simplest issue, is that we do not have enough homes. We don't build enough. To put it really simply, if you have a population of 10 people and you have 9 homes, somebody is going to be without a home, and that's what we've got. So when we don't build enough, somebody loses out. It's gone on for decades, by the way. Somebody loses out, and it's always going to be the poorest. It's the people who live the most chaotic lives, or have the least money, are going to be at that bottom and falling out of it. And it's absolute chaos. Ellie, the worst thing about this, it's really fixable. We can get people off the streets. We can create the medium-term accommodation to transition people from the streets, from shelters, into more permanent places. We can do this by reprioritising some of the 2.8 billion. We spend 2.8 billion quid just sticking people into really expensive overnight B&Bs. As I say, awful, crummy places above kebab shops where kids are growing up for months on end and struggling with lack of space. We can fix it, but there just isn't the political will.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 25 minutes past midday. Now, an Afghan migrant has appeared in court today, charged with murder and attempted murder following a triple stabbing in West London.
Yeah, a 22-year-old Safi Dawood is charged with murdering Wayne Broadhurst, as well as 2 counts for attempted murder in relation to an incident in Uxbridge on Monday.
Well, our Home and Security editor, Mark White, joins us live from Westminster Magistrates Court with the very latest. Mark.
Well, Safi Dawood appeared in court number 3 here at Westminster Magistrates Court. He sat in the dock wearing a prison-issue grey tracksuit and didn't speak as the charges, 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder, were read out. Now, this appearance today follows 999 calls that were made to the emergency services on Monday evening around 5 o'clock to an unfolding multiple stabbing incident in Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge in West London. When police arrived on the scene shortly after, the suspect was tasered, then arrested. Now, it's alleged that he stabbed and murdered 49-year-old Wayne Broadhurst, who is a local resident. Mr. Broadhurst was out walking his dog at the time that he was stabbed. Despite the efforts of the emergency services, paramedics worked on Mr. Broadhurst for 45 minutes. They were unable to save him. 2 other people were stabbed, and the court heard that a 45-year-old man was the landlord at a property in Midhurst Gardens where Safi Dawood was living at that time, lodging with them, and a 14-year-old boy was also stabbed. Now, the 45-year-old man, according to the prosecutor, is still in a critical condition in hospital today. This case has been expedited up to the Crown Court, meaning that an appearance will take place in the Crown Court within the next 48 hours. So Safi Dawood was remanded back into custody, where he'll then next appear at the Central Criminal Court, the Old Bailey, in 48 hours.
Well, Mark White, thanks indeed for being there for us. It's such an important story, and I'm frankly amazed that it hasn't got more coverage elsewhere.
It's just heartbreaking. I mean, you're out walking your dog and you just never go home.
Shocking.
I just can't imagine. Can't imagine.
Well, we'll be back with Mark later in the programme with more.
Yes, OK. Meanwhile, similar vein here. Migrants sent to France under the UK's one-in, one-out deal are trying to come back after French authorities allegedly refused to house them.
Well, legal sources say that more migrants are attempting to cross the channel in small boats after being left homeless by the French authorities.
It comes as another deportation flight takes off as part of the government's weekly removals. So should the UK ask France for a refund?
Well, joining us now is the former Director General of the UK Border Force, Tony Smith. Tony, this is a bit of extraordinary. I mean, we've reported before how one migrant who was deported the very next day got on a small boat back to Britain, but it seems like he's not going to be alone.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The French approach to receiving migrants is vastly different from ours. Reports saying that once they get back to Paris, French aren't really doing very much, just really releasing them, go and find a hostel somewhere. Paris, not that far really, to get your way back up to Calais. They're probably mixing with the same people they were mixing with before they came across, and they're trying to get back in again. So it does seem to be the government's facing a little bit of merry-go-round at the moment on this.
I mean, every time we talk about this story, Tony, we end up discussing the ECHR, European Convention on Human Rights, which obviously France is still a part of. How comes we have an obligation to house migrants here, so much so that we have them in our hotels at vast expense, etc., etc., and yet the French don't seem to have that obligation?
Yeah, good question. I think the answer is that we interpret the ECHR in a different way to them. Our whole asylum support and accommodation system started because there were challenges to the Home Office that by doing this, leaving people destitute, we would, inhuman and degrading treatment. And therefore we had to, upon orders of the court, introduce the asylum support system, which, as you know, is now mushroomed into this multi-billion pound business of hotels and houses of multiple and whatsoever. Whereas France, as you say, also in the ECHR, take an entirely different view and say, well, actually, we're going to leave you to your own devices. They do, I think, give them somewhere to stay. Well, there's a bed in that hostel over there if you want to go and stay there. But it's nothing like as comfortable as what we're offering to migrants here. And I guess that's part of the pull factor, isn't it?
It does seem that we gold plate our asylum accommodation in a way that the French and the Germans and the Greeks, use tents. It does seem to be extraordinary that we use these expensive, nice systems for people that have broken our laws and come to this country. And yet I wonder, are we over-egging this? Because in France, a lot of these people don't apply for asylum. So they deliberately don't get in contact with the French authorities, because if they applied for asylum in France, they'd be stuck in France and they want to come to Britain. So is that part of the story there, that they're actually not within the French system of housing in a way that they want to be within the English system of housing?
Yeah, there's a mixed bag coming across on the small boats. Some of them have been in the EU for a very, very long time in the Schengen zone. Some have claimed asylum in different, wandered from country to country. The enforcement policy in the EU is not to arrest and deport. By and large, they tend to serve them a notice de quitte. That is a piece of paper saying you've got 3 months to leave the Schengen zone, and that just gets thrown in the bin, and they don't. And you can see from these returns that we're doing to France that they're not actually arresting them, and putting them in an enforcement system and flying them back to their own countries. They're just basically releasing them back on the streets to try again. So the whole issue of enforced removals, I think, is a problem for the EU as well as us. The difficulty we've got is that our pull factors are much stronger than theirs, and that's why so many of them still want to cross.
Tony, you're former Director General of the UK Border Force. When you see the stories we've been covering this week about people losing their lives, being sexually assaulted, to people coming over in these boats, how does that make you feel?
It breaks my heart, Dawn. It breaks my heart that people are suffering in this way in our communities. I did retire quite some time ago, actually, about 10 years ago now, so I was fortunate enough to be in the department before the boats arrived. But I can tell you there were the levels of criminality that we are seeing now from the illegal entry cohorts are huge. There are very significant numbers now of reports coming into the police, some of which you publicise, some of which you don't. But I do happen to know very significant numbers being reported to the Home Office of people who've either come by small boat or lorry or may have got a limited leave to remain, may still be on bail, that are committing crimes. And these are serious crimes. So we need to look at our legislative framework, and that if people commit crimes in this country, then my view is all bets should be off. Any claims for protection that you have made are cancelled. Any leave to remain is cancelled. You need to be detained and deported. In order to achieve that, we need a fundamental change in our legislation, and I'm afraid I don't see that happening at the moment.
It is extraordinary. We supposedly introduced a points-based system after we left the European Union for legal migration, where you have to fulfil certain points in order to be able to be invited in. And yet, in parallel to that, we're running a pointless system, a system that actually incentivises people to come across and cheat the system, incentivises the kind of people who want to disobey rules, incentivises the kind of people who hear the Home Secretary or the Prime Minister say don't come, and then they come. We are selecting for people predisposed to disregard our rules, our customs and our norms.
Yeah, the kingdom has been unlocked, I'm afraid, by claims for protection, be that human rights, asylum or whatever. We are, in the Border Force, powerless to detain you if you lodge one of those claims. Unless we can deal with it really, really quickly, you will be released into the community, because the power to detain under the Immigration Act is linked to the capacity to remove. So if we keep someone for more than about a week, if we can't demonstrate to a judge that we're going to get them on a plane very, very quickly, then they will inevitably be given bail. And that's the problem we have. We need to change the legal system so that we are able to say, for example, as we did in the Illegal Migration Act, look, if you come from France, you're not going to be allowed to claim asylum in this country. You come from a safe third country, not immediately fearing persecution. We will lock you up and we will send you somewhere. And, I was a supporter of the Rwanda plan. If we couldn't send you back to your own country or back to France, we'll send you somewhere else that will take you. But we need to do something like that urgently, because not only the numbers going up, but the numbers the number of crimes being perpetrated with this cohort is extremely damaging to our communities.
Tony, thank you so much. That's former Director General of the UK Border Force there, Tony Smith.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's plenty more still to come, but let's catch up on those latest news headlines.
Tom, thank you. The top story. Sir Keir Starmer has dismissed calls for an investigation into the Chancellor after she apologised for admitting to breaking housing rules when renting out her family home. Kemi Badenoch says Rachel Reeves should be sacked if she raises taxes in next month's budget. The Conservative leaders accused Labour of breaking promises and delivering high taxes and out-of-control spending. The Prince and Princess of Wales have slammed grossly intrusive paparazzi images of their children on a French skiing holiday earlier this year. A court has ruled a French magazine has breached the privacy and image rights of the royal couple and their children. The Prisons Minister has defended paying migrant sex offender Hadoush Kabatu £500 to agree to his deportation, calling it a sensible decision to avoid further disruption. Those are the latest headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. There's loads more coming up on today's show.
Yes, President Trump signals he could resume US nuclear weapons testing for the first time in decades, the first time in my lifetime.
Yeah.
What could it mean for the world?
I don't want to know. I'm not sure I want to know. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. We'll see you very soon.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After a chilly start, there will be some hazy spells of sunshine around today, soon turning wet and windy from the west, however, and that's all because we've got an area of low pressure starting to move its way in from the Atlantic, bringing with it some frontal systems, so some clouds, some rain, also plenty of isobars on that chart. So it is going to start to turn quite blustery, particularly across Northern Ireland, where we have got a weather warning issued. We could see gust speeds of around 50 to 60 miles per hour in these areas. Spells of rain also pushing into western areas of Scotland, northwest England, but elsewhere it should be mostly dry. Plenty of cloud though, creating a more milky kind of sunshine, and still on the chilly side, highs reaching around 14 degrees Celsius in the south. More rain will eventually spread across Scotland through the course of the evening. This could be quite heavy at times, and it is going to start to turn quite blustery, particularly around western and northwestern coasts. Fairly similar across Northern Ireland, heavy spells of rain and also those blustery winds continuing through the early hours of the evening. We might just start to see some of that rain start to push into western areas of Wales, parts of southwest England by the time we reach the evening. Elsewhere it will remain mostly dry, still plenty of cloud around though, but those winds are certainly going to pick up through the course of the night, particularly around western areas, any exposed coasts. We could see some quite gusty conditions as this band of heavy rain spreads its way eastwards, eventually clearing off into the North Sea, allowing some drier, clearer spells to develop, though it is still going to be fairly windy, so that will keep temperatures up, many towns and cities around into the low double digits. So a milder start as we head into Friday, a mix of patchy cloud, also some sunny spells, but we are still expecting some quite heavy and intense showers, particularly as we head our way towards the afternoon. This band of heavy rain pushing in from the west. This could bring some hail and thunder at times too. Still very windy as we get into the afternoon, but feeling a little bit milder, highs reaching around 16 to 17 degrees.
Thank you, Britain, for our more than 2 million YouTube subscribers and more than 2 billion views. That is Britain watching, sharing and making its voice heard louder than ever before.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Eastbound traffic on the M8 is restricted after Junction 6 due to an incident. The M48 has a weight restriction for heavy goods vehicles. On the M5 northbound in Worcestershire, lane closures between junctions 6 and 5 are causing delays due to a collision. In Surrey, the M25 anti-clockwise entry slip at junction 10 is closed after an accident. And on the trains, there is no service on the Gatwick Express between London Victoria and Brighton, and Great Western Railway faces disruptions to and from Gloucester. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
OK, welcome back. Let's go live now to Westminster, where our political editor, Christopher Hope, has just left a briefing with the Prime Minister's spokesman. Mr Hope, what's going on?
Hi, Tom. Hi, Dawn. Yeah, it was dominated by this problem that Rachel Reeves has got by leasing out her house for over £3,000 a month in southeast London and not getting a licence to do so. Now, the government very quickly last night acted to shore up her position. She said she inadvertently had done this. She applied for a licence yesterday when alerted to a story in the Daily Mail last night. The PM replied saying that it's been looked at by Laurie Magnus, who is the ministerial advisor on these areas for the Prime Minister. He says it was inadvertent, and according to the ministerial code, we're told an apology will suffice. Now, we're not getting much more from the government. It went round and round in circles in this briefing. What the government won't say was there a breach of the ministerial code? Simply that she has apologised, they want to move on. The extraordinary exchange of letters last night, before many of us had even seen the story in the Daily Mail, they can't really explain the speed. To me, it suggests, although this isn't commented on by the government, they won't comment on the bond markets, but I wonder whether they were very keen to shore up her position before the markets opened at 7 a.m. tonight. We saw how the markets moved the wrong way when she was spotted sobbing on the front bench during Prime Minister's questions a few months ago. Perhaps that's why they moved so quickly, but I've never seen a speedily, a quicker review by Laurie Magnus, put it that way. And we weren't clear from the briefing with the PM's official spokesman whether Laurie Magnus asked for the information from the estate agent or from Rachel Reeves. It seems the government wants to move on very, very quickly. I think that, to me, suggests there is concern about the UK's fiscal state. They've got to basically shore up the position of the Chancellor as soon as it's weakened.
It's extraordinary. When Rachel Reeves was crying on the front bench during PMQs, it wasn't just that she was crying, it was that the Prime Minister was asked, will he keep her in her job, and he refused to answer the question. The markets moved, the cost of UK debt became more expensive, and then Number 10 had to issue a clarification hours later to say, actually, we will keep the Chancellor in her job. I mean, it was utter chaos. I suppose they're acting more quickly off the back of that knowledge now.
Yes, Tom, and to me, I think it shows, that Rachel Reeves, of all the people in the Cabinet, does occupy a really important place, obviously setting tax and spend for us all, but also, if her position is weakened, the markets are wondering, well, who comes next? I mean, so far, she has stuck by these, the commitments on spending and not borrowing, her fiscal rules are not going to be changed. That does keep the markets happy, but any weakening of that, and a weakening in her position, will alarm the markets. Now, of course, the government won't comment on the bond markets, and they never do. But I wonder if that was driving this sudden flurry of activity last night. As things stand, we're still waiting to hear from Southwark Council. There are now claims that the tenants who the property was let to, they could get money back from Rachel Reeves because it was let when it wasn't licensed properly. It's a bit of a mess, and also it transpired that Rachel Reeves backed a similar licensing scheme in Leeds, where she's got her seat, and she seems to be unwilling to follow the rules that of course, she is seen being imposed on landlords elsewhere in the country. As for Kemi Badenoch, the Tory leader, I've spoken to her in the past 2 hours about this very issue, and we'll be playing that out live on your programme at 1 o'clock.
Christopher, I mean, I completely agree with your summation of why they move so quickly on this particular story, but I'm really struggling to see a huge difference between this story and Angela Rayner. Both women are saying, I took independent advice from people who knew what they were doing. That advice was wrong. That's the defence of both women. What's the difference?
The difference, I think, is avoiding tax, which is what inadvertently we're told also about Angela Rayner when she didn't pay the full stamp duty owed. I think that is different to a licensing issue with a local council.
But this is still a criminal offence, Christopher.
It is a problem, and I don't think we're over it, and that's why we have heard already Kemi Badenoch say that if she's found to have broken the law, she should go. And of course, earlier we saw the Tories talking about she should go if she raises taxes in the budget in just under a month's time. So, yeah, I think there is pressure on her right now, and that will carry on.
I mean, there's likely no financial gain for her in this. I'm struggling to see how that would have been, but I suppose it speaks to a profound sense of disorganisation. Yeah. From someone who you expect to be on top of, well, just about everything, for someone who you expect to be running on all cylinders in tip-top shape, who seems to just be completely chaotic.
Certainly the person in charge of actually putting tax on whether you're renting or a homeowner or any of those things. She seems across that fairly well.
Yes, and we go back, don't we, to the issues we had with her LinkedIn page, her online CV, and how that had to be restated. What role did she actually do in Halifax Bank of Scotland back in the noughties? Was she an economist, or was she doing a different role within a kind of customer service facing role? What was her role when she did some work with the Bank of England, and she had to restate that? So there is that, there has been a focus on her private life before, which has been a bit messy, let's say, and this is further evidence of a lack of certainty about what rules in her private life she must abide by. The problem she's got, of course, is, of course, many of us can get overwhelmed by regulation, trying to meet all the various requirements you have to do, particularly if you're a landlord. But she is a part of a government that sets the rules, and therefore she is held to a higher standard. Exactly. And that's why the government moved so fast to protect her last night.
Exactly. Christopher, we're looking forward to catching up with you later with the Kemi Badenoch story.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come.
Yeah, President Trump signalled he could resume US nuclear weapons testing for the first time in decades. What could it mean for the rest of the world?
And speaking of the rest of the world, here's the weather in Europe.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you are looking to escape the very mixed weather across the UK, well, it's going to also be mixed across much of the Mediterranean. Not everywhere. We are going to see some fine weather on Friday through parts of Greece, particularly the Greek islands. But we've got this area of low pressure bringing some heavy rain to southern Italy, showers to northern Italy as well. Mostly fine to eastern Spain for now, but some wet and windy conditions across Portugal, and they spread east, albeit slowly, through the weekend and early next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 10 to 1, and here's some unsettling news for you. Donald Trump has ordered the Pentagon to resume nuclear weapons testing for the first time in over 30 years.
Yes, indeed. It comes just hours after Russia announced it had successfully tested a nuclear-capable underwater drone.
Well, the US president revealed the move on social media, adding that he had no choice because other countries were testing their warheads.
OK, joining us now is international security expert and nuclear physicist Dr. Patricia Lewis. Dr. Lewis, thank you very much for joining us today. What do you make of this story? How worried should we be?
It's of great concern. As you say, it's over 30 years since US tested. It's more than that for Russia, slightly less for China, but it's about 30 years for almost all the nuclear weapons possessors. The only outliers being North Korea in that regard. And so it is a huge thing. There has been a lot of talk over recent years in Washington, particularly in the Republican Party, over suspicions that Russia has been conducting, as they're allowed to do, subcritical checks on their weapons. That means that they don't get an explosion. These are all done underground, of course. And all of the nuclear weapons possessors have that capability. They're all allowed to do those types of checks. But there have been concerns that Russia has gone over the threshold and had small explosive yields, which would be an abrogation of the treaty, the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. Excuse me.
Signed in 1996, sort of when we all believed in the end of history, that the Cold War was over, that we were in for a new unprecedented era of peace and prosperity and goodwill to all mankind. It seems that era is very much over now.
I never thought it existed, to be honest. Certainly the era of nuclear arms control, of a reduction in the nuclear weapons capability seems to be over. Whether it will settle at the current level where we've got 5,000 apiece roughly between Russia and America, and with China rapidly increasing, they're up to 600 now. I mean, that's still a very small proportion compared with Russia and the United States. But still, China has been increasing its capability. And I do think that Trump probably announced this on the eve of his meeting with President Xi in order to sort of signal. And what I'm hoping, given President Trump's real desire to get a Nobel Peace Prize, is that he's trying to escalate to de-escalate. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, carry on.
No, he's trying to raise the flag, as it were, and get China and Russia into arms control negotiations. Because in February, in a few months, the only bilateral treaty left now between Russia and America is going to come to an end. Somebody has to do something.
Interesting. Escalate to de-escalate. Let's hope that's the path that the United States is on. But I suppose we'll have to watch this space. Dr. Patricia Lewis, thanks so much for your expertise. Nuclear physicist and international security expert, Patricia Lewis. There, thank you.
It's what Trump put out on social media overnight. United States has more nuclear weapons than any other country. This was accomplished, including a complete update and renovation of existing weapons during my first term in office because of the tremendous destructive power. I hated to do it, but I had no choice. I just find it scary. I'm sorry, I really do.
Well, escalate to de-escalate. That's going to be ringing round in my head for the rest of the day.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more still to come on the programme, so don't dare move a muscle. But first, here's the latest weather forecast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After a chilly start this morning, tonight will be milder. There will be some spells of rain though, and it is going to be rather windy across much of the country, particularly across Northern Ireland, where we'll start to see outbreaks of rain this afternoon, all down to low pressure, pushing in these frontal systems, so cloud, rain, and also some quite strong gusty winds. Where we have our weather warning issued for Northern Ireland, we could see wind speeds of between 50 to 60 miles per hour. It's going to be turning blustery for all though. This band of heavy rain shifts its way eastwards into the North Sea, turning a little drier for a time as we head closer towards dawn, though we can't rule out some showers lingering around for some. Nevertheless, though, it is going to be a milder start to the day. Many towns and cities in the low double digits. So we'll see a mix of clouds, some clearer skies to start the day. There will be some showers quickly moving through though, particularly across the south, some heavy showers pushing up from the English Channel there. Some of these could be quite heavy and it is going to be quite blustery, particularly around any western coast. But for Northern Ireland, it is going to be a much brighter start than what we saw this morning. And similar across parts of Scotland, a mix of clouds, some clearer skies towards the north, though we can't rule out a risk of showers. And that is the theme through much of the day, though some of these showers could be quite heavy. Some bring some quite intense downpours, particularly this area into the west as we head towards the afternoon. Some strong blustery winds and some heavy bands of rain. This could bring in some hail and thunder. And it is going to be quite a blustery day for all, but with the slightly blustery weather, that does bring in some milder air, so highs reaching around 16 to 17 degrees Celsius in the south. Through into the evening, for any trick-or-treaters that might be out and about, there'll be once again a mix of some drier spells and also some showers. These showers turning to quite an intense band of rain across parts of the southwest through the course of the evening. And as we progress into the weekend, the showery theme continues, though it should start to feel a little bit milder from Monday onwards.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
We have a very interesting guy in the studio called Will Whitehorn, who's a space expert. And the reason we got Will in is that NASA have plans to send astronauts to live on the moon. And
it's not how you think, though, is it? It's inside glass bubbles that are going to be made from lunar dust.
OK.
Not in houses.
The American Space Agency is funding research to see if it is possible. And let's get Will, who does believe it's possible. And will you be going, Will?
Well, not to the moon, obviously.
No.
That's going to be a bit expensive. But and I think NASA will be sending astronauts who probably had to train for several years. But I do intend to go to space in the next couple of years, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So how's it going to work? So NASA's unveiling this plan to send astronauts to live on the moon, living in glass bubbles.
Yeah, made of basically moon dust. So there's a huge amount of silica and other similar materials on the moon. And basically using a microwave process, like a microwave oven, of a very sophisticated type, they're going to be able to meld those and construct, and also using 3D, technology, they'll also be able to construct the interiors on the moon. Now, that's because rocketry is expensive, so it's very expensive to take them up.
So it's not that you fill a big space container and bring it to the moon full of this stuff and then assemble it there. You're actually going to fabricate it, make it on the lunar surface.
That's one of NASA's plans. So the first mission going back shortly, in which Elon Musk will be involved with the new Starship rocket that you've probably seen. The Starship is the biggest rocket ever built in human history. And that's going to be able to also go to Mars. but it's also going to be able to carry industrial material to space.
Right. GB News, the People's Channel.
Yeah, quiet.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 1 o'clock on Thursday, the 30th of October. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Neeson. Now, Sir Keir Starmer rejects calls to investigate Rachel Reeves after she admits renting out her London home without the right licence. She apologises. The PM says the case is closed, but the Tories saying she should be sacked.
And the Chancellor is reportedly weighing up a 2p income tax hike, even as she eyes a matching national insurance cut. Well, the Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, had this message for her this morning.
If she puts up the tax, give Reeves the axe.
Kemi Badenoch also says that if Rachel Reeves broke the law, she should go. And in an interview with GB News, broadcast imminently, she says she can win the election in 4 years' time. Stay tuned.
Indeed. And exactly a year on from the budget, how worried are Britain's farmers as another one looms?
Yeah, farmers here say it's been the toughest 12 months in living memory. I'll be finding out the challenges they're facing, plus what they want the government to do to help.
Elsewhere, migrants deported to France are already trying to come back on yet more small boats. Lawyers say some were left homeless in France and are now waiting in Calais to cross all over again. So are these return flights really working?
Spoiler alert, no. Meanwhile, US President Trump orders the immediate testing of America's nuclear weapons, just hours after Russia announced its testing of a nuclear-capable underwater drone.
And it's Poppy Day today in both London and Edinburgh, where your donations will help support those who served for their country. Well, there's a lot to talk about, but I just can't get the image of this underwater submarine Russian nuclear thing out of my mind.
I just said, right, the little trade secret is how to make this show work, right? Right, yeah. Tom talks a lot, OK. So at the beginning of each break, I say, right, Tom, I'll leave it up to you what we can have a little chit-chat about at the beginning of the show, OK? And I thought I'd a little private bet with myself that it might be about rockets and missiles, because you really, really do like rockets, don't you, and missiles and things.
I think they're interesting. I think
they are, unless they're coming to kill you. That's when they get slightly less interesting.
Then you should be the most interested in them than you are of anything.
No, I'm just going to be so uninterested and running in the opposite direction.
No, but that would express your interest.
No, that expresses my terror, to be honest with you.
Yes, but isn't terror the most extreme form of interest?
I have no idea. If you'd like to answer that question, please do get in touch, gbnews.com/yoursay, and help the next hour pass slightly faster for me.
Yeah. Also, we should say that Kemi Badenoch, exclusive sit-down interview with Christopher Hope. We're going to be playing that out very soon indeed.
Very good. Yeah.
I hear it's punchy.
That's coming up very, very soon. In fact, it's straight after the news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez. Here she is.
Don, thank you very much. The top stories this hour. Sir Keir Starmer has dismissed calls for an investigation into Chancellor Rachel Reeves after she apologised for admitting to breaking housing rules when renting out her family home. The property in Southwark was let for around £3,200 a month after she moved into Downing Street following last year's election win. But the area requires landlords to hold a selective licence, which Ms Reeves didn't have. A spokesperson says it was an inadvertent mistake made through a letting agency and that she's since applied for the licence. Downing Street has declined to say whether Rachel Reeves broke the ministerial code. Kemi Badenoch says Rachel Reeves should be sacked if she raises taxes in next month's budget. Speaking at a pre-budget rally, the Conservative leader accused Labour of breaking promises and delivering high taxes and out-of-control spending. It comes after Sir Keir Starmer refused to repeat his pledge not to raise income tax, national insurance or VAT, fueling speculation of tax hikes to plug a £20 billion black hole in the public finances. Labour insists the Conservatives have no credibility on the economy, saying their focus is on fixing the long-term damage and putting money back into people's pockets.
Very happy for you to scrap business rates, just like Mel described, put it in the budget. Let's have a budget of good news this November, not another budget of bad news. Our golden economic rule, finding savings, scrapping stamp duty, scrapping business rates for high streets, and then making sure we get control of spending. So that's my message to Rachel today. I know you've got a lot of problems now with the new issues with being a landlord and messing up your lettings, but no one is interested in your problems. We need you to solve our problems. If she puts up the tax, give Reeves the axe. Thank you.
The Prince and Princess of Wales have slammed grossly intrusive paparazzi images of their children on a French skiing holiday earlier this year. A court has ruled a French magazine has breached the privacy and image rights of the royal couple and their children. Paris Match magazine published an article on the 16th of April this year, which included long-lens paparazzi photographs and intrusive details of a private family holiday in the Alps. The Prince and Princess sued the magazine for the breach of privacy. The court has ruled that Paris Match had infringed their privacy and image rights. A former Afghan asylum seeker allegedly stabbed two people he was lodging with and murdered a passerby, according to prosecutors. Safi Dawood appeared in court this morning, charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. He's been remanded in custody. Emergency services were called to Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge in West London early on Monday evening to reports of a multiple stabbing. The 22-year-old suspect was tasered and arrested at the scene. Despite the efforts of medics, 49-year-old Wayne Broadhurst was pronounced dead at the scene, having suffered multiple stab wounds. He was a local resident who'd been out walking his dog when he was attacked. 2 other people, a 45-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy, were stabbed and injured. The court heard how the accused had been living with the 45-year-old and the teenager at a house in Midhurst Gardens. The Prisons Minister has defended paying migrant sex offender Hadoush Kabatu £500 to agree to his deportation, calling it a sensible decision to avoid further disruption. Lord Timpson told peers the payment was an operational call made by officials, saying it was far cheaper than keeping him in prison for another year, which would have cost £54,000. But Conservative and Lib Dem peers branded the payment unacceptable and unprofessional, demanding to know whether ministers are running a secret slush fund to pay deportees. Kabatu, who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl and a woman in Essex, was deported to Ethiopia this week with no right to return to Britain. The UK has chartered flights to help transport British nationals out of Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa ripped through the Caribbean. Up to 8,000 British citizens are on holiday in Jamaica as it reels from one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes in history. People have been ordered to stay indoors after Hurricane Melissa swept over the Caribbean island, which is also home to 50,000 dual nationals, with tourists locked down in hotels. The Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office says it's chartering the flights to help bolster commercial capacity. It says the chartered flights are for those who are unable to fly home commercially, but it's also working closely with travel companies to restore flights for holidaymakers and British nationals. And just before I go, some breaking news in the last few moments that police are at the scene of a helicopter crash near Doncaster. South Yorkshire Police saying officers were called to reports of a helicopter crash in a field off Ings Lane in Bentley. More on that breaking story as soon as we get it. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3173 and €1.1361. The price of gold, £3,026 and 3 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,699 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 9 minutes past 1.
Yes, the leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, has said this morning that Rachel Reeves should be sacked if she raises taxes in next month's budget. This comes as the Chancellor is reportedly considering a 2p rise in income tax in a move that could breach Labour's manifesto. GB News political editor Christopher Hope has been speaking with her this morning. Let's have a listen.
Kemi Badenoch, thank you for joining us on GB News. On the future of Rachel Reeves as Chancellor, should Southwark Council investigate her rule breach?
Absolutely. I've just spoken to 2 landlords this morning who rent homes in Southwark, and they said that they spent thousands of pounds on these lettings regulations, and she should not be allowed to get off scot-free. I think there needs to be an investigation. If she has broken the law, then she should go. In Keir Starmer's own words, lawmakers should not be lawbreakers.
Why do you think the PM was so quick to act on it last night, or to clear her after a very brief review, apparently, by the standards expert?
Well, he's had just one scandal, one problem after another. Before Peter Mandelson, it was Angela Rayner. Before her, it was Louise Hick. It's just endless for him. I think he's worried about losing yet another cabinet minister after a reshuffle. But the truth is that we have a budget at the end of this month. She's supposedly the person writing that budget. She is very distracted. It would create some problems for them. We need them to stop being distracted and focus on building a stronger economy. That's why we told them to stop the tax rises and start cutting spending.
You're saying here, aren't you, that if you want to get Rachel Reeves sacked, you should put up taxes, but your party put up taxes for 14 years. Well, GBNews viewers will be shouting at the TV saying you had 14 years not to cut taxes.
We didn't put up taxes for 14 years. We put up taxes after COVID, where we paid people to stay at home. Everyone understood that we'd spent quite a lot of money. And even then, we knew that taxes were too high. We were trying to get growth. What Labour should have done was picked up some of our growth policies, getting people into work. We had welfare savings, they ignored them. And now more and more people are staying at home. We had 2,000 people after COVID signing on each day for health and sickness benefits. That number is now 5,000 according to the government's own figures. That is crazy. There are 6 million people out of work who should be in work. Who's paying for it? Your viewers, a lot of those people who are out there working really hard. We need to get the economy back on track.
Why have you watered down your plans to tackle indefinite leave to remain?
I haven't watered down the plans to tackle indefinite leave to remain. We had an amendment for a bill. That bill has now gone to report stage, and we're now leaving the ECHR. Our plan is to make sure that foreigners cannot claim benefits in this country. Now that we're leaving the ECHR, we can change that. So we've actually toughened our policy on indefinite leave to remain.
You're approaching your 1-year anniversary as leader. There's been some criticism though this week, hasn't there, from Theresa May and John Major. Theresa May on Monday said that your plans to dealing with the climate change by ripping up the Climate Change Act risk chasing votes from reform at the expense of the wider electorate. John Major, he says you could be seriously alienating voters with your plans on Europe, for climate change and aid. Why are these 2 senior Tories criticising you in this big week for you?
You will have to ask them. I'm afraid that the plans that we have for net zero are not working. We are deindustrializing. Another company, Petrofac, has just decided that it cannot go on in Scotland. Ineos has left Grangemouth Refinery, Harbour Energy. We are losing our oil and gas industry. We are losing industry. Manufacturers are leaving. And a lot of it is down to these net zero policies. And on top of that, people are paying sky-high energy bills at home. We have to look after our people. We're not going to sort out the climate if we bankrupt the country. And what I'm doing is making sure that what we do on the environment actually makes sense. It's not just slogans for people to strut around on the world stage.
How's your first year been? You've gone backwards in the polls. Is that a worry for you?
Well, we always knew it was going to be very difficult. The political landscape has fragmented. It's no longer just about Labour and Conservatives. Other protest parties are doing well. We've seen the Greens polling at the same as Labour. Reform is there, Lib Dems are there. But there is all to play for. The truth is we've just been kicked out after a historic defeat. It's going to take time. The last oppositions, with their 18 years, 13 years, 14 years, I'm going to do this in 4 years.
And you'll be there for the election?
Of course.
And just finally, colleagues of yours can put letters of no confidence in you from Monday. What's your message to them?
I don't have a message to them. This is something that has always been the case for Conservative Party leaders. I'm focused right now on what Labour are doing. They're making a mess of our economy. And if Rachel Reeves raised taxes, then she should go.
Kemi Badenoch, thank you for joining us today on GBNews. Thank you.
Well, quite a lot in that. Shall we get the immediate digest with the man behind it, our very own political editor, Christopher Hope. Chris, what was your biggest takeaway?
I thought the confidence in her, she gave a very good speech at the end of her party conference, the first time we've heard of from her since then. We were looking, weren't we, a few months ago, at a crisis for Kemi Badenoch. This weekend, Sunday, is the first anniversary of her election as Tory leader. So from Monday, party MPs in the Commons can put letters of no confidence in her and could trigger a leadership election. But no one I can speak to in the party thinks that's going to happen. And she is facing chasing that down. And she also sees this atomisation of our party politics, the 5 parties now vying for supremacy in the polls, as an opportunity for Kemi Badenoch. She says she can win in 4 years. She did make the point there at the end I thought was fascinating. She says there how the last opposition has lasted for 18 years. That's, of course, the Tories under Labour. 13 years or 14 years. That was, of course, Labour under the Tories. She thinks she can be only in opposition for 4 years. Now, you might think, well, she must say that. She has to think she's going to win. If she doesn't think she's going to win next time, then what's the point in even being a Conservative? But I think the positivity in her is fascinating. Despite the fact she has gone backwards in the polls, her stock is rising on a personal level, and that's giving her confidence, which I haven't seen before in her.
And Christopher, she did smash it in PMQs yesterday when she asked that question over tax, didn't she?
Yeah, she's getting more and more confident. She used an answer back on the 9th of July when the PM said he wouldn't, the manifesto stands, he wouldn't increase income tax, VAT or national insurance. He used that against him now, knowing that he can't say the same thing because everyone's expecting one of those 3 breaches to happen. So, yeah, she's growing in confidence at just the right time, I think, for this Tory leader. And, of course, she's now calling, of course, for Rachel Reeves to go if she's found to have broken the law over the issue of her renting out her home in Southwark without having a licence.
Well, you say it's just the right time. I mean, is it not maybe 12 months too late? Because all the while Kemi Badenoch was on the back foot, finding her feet, not performing that well at Prime Minister's questions, all the things that we can now say she's sort of improved on. Well, during that time of policy vacuum and perhaps of greater nervousness, the Reform Party stole a march, occupied the vacuum and is now first place in the polls. They took the advantage of Labour collapsing in popularity quite so quickly. And have the Tories just got to this game too late?
There's a lot to be said for that. I mean, she's often said to us when we ask her, where are your policies? She would say, of course, I'm a marathon runner, not a sprinter, to which I would say, you're a marathon runner in a sprint. You're being lapped by Reform UK and other parties which just have ideas, ambitions and vibes almost, that party, and that seemed to work, didn't it? I think that she had little chance but to try and play for time, because a year ago, the memory of the election was very, very fresh and everyone was screaming at the TV screen, watching this, saying you had 14 years to do this. Why on earth should we listen to you? There was question marks about whether she should say sorry more, apologise more for the record. She has said sorry about net migration and the like, but there are some areas she may want to apologise for, but she is trying to break with the past, and that's why it's concerning to John Major, to Theresa May and now Boris Johnson over the measures he's taking on climate change, for example. I think ECHR withdrawal, had she come out immediately and back that, as say Robert Jenrick would have done if he had won, the party may have split, because I think that by doing that after having a review by Lord Wolfson, building that 180-page report in, that means the party has held together. We haven't seen those Lib Dem-facing Tory MPs who we may have thought would have left the party a year ago. They haven't gone anywhere, and that's maybe she bought time. The cost of doing that, though, of course, Tom, you're right, is she has lost a lot of ground to Reform UK, who have filled that vacuum. We're seeing, of course, on the left of Labour, the same thing happening. The fact that your party hasn't got set up yet means that the Greens are soaring ahead under Zach Polanski, up 6 points since he took over as this kind of left-of-wing party, taking away those support to Labour. So if you snooze, you lose. But frankly, I don't think Kemi Badenoch had much option.
Lots of nice comments coming in about your interview with Kemi, and some critical, obviously, and that's exactly what we do. We give both sides. Joanne said, I thought Kemi did well there. I like her.
Yeah, I think she is personable. I mean, we haven't seen her since her big speech, which did so well, acting stamp duty and the like at the end of the party conference. I think, yeah, she is growing into the role, I think, and she had to take time to do that. She had to take time to get us all past the failure of the 14 years of the Tory government by the end, and the failure over net migration. I do think that issue of net migration, before I go, I do think that is going to be seen as the Tories' poll tax. That is a real problem. They've got to get past that, and that's why anyone associated with that, Boris Johnson, I think their political career on the front line is over.
Well, before we do let you go, we must have a question on this Rachel Reeves renting out her house without a licence, the very licences for which she campaigned. It's a big call from Kemi Badenoch to call for her resignation if she's broken the law. That's a big political moment.
It's a big call, and a lot of parties don't like to do that because it gets, the more and more you call for someone to resign, the less valuable it gets. But she did breach the rules. As you said, Tom, earlier, she hasn't benefited from this in the same way that Angela Rayner benefited by mistakenly undercooking her stamp duty on that flat in Hove that she bought. But there's a problem here. If she's found to breach the law, what does she do? I think the fact that the PM moved so fast last night, I think, was to reassure the markets. They couldn't have her future to be at stake in these crucial 4-week run-in to the budget. We're expecting to hear from her next Tuesday, possibly in a speech. More questions there, but there are question marks about how careful is she about her own affairs, not least this licence. Her own CV had to be restated a couple of times online. It is raising concerns about how careful she is. Of course, she is sticking by these golden rules, not to on the fiscal side of it, but there are concerns about how she runs her own life now.
Well, Chopper, thanks indeed for bringing us all of that. Live from Westminster.
Yeah, Christopher, thank you very much. Joining us now is Labour activist Aisha Ali Khan. Aisha, good to see you. Rachel Reeves, I mean, going back on a manifesto pledge, forgetting that she needed a licence to rent her house out. Surely it is time she went.
I don't agree with that. Hi, guys. So yeah, the headlines don't make it easy. Honestly, it's been one thing after the other. Obviously, we had weeks of Angela Rayner, and then we've had just a few weeks of respite, and now we've got this budget coming up, and now this. So yeah, it's quite like this is why I was doing this. Oh my God, not another slew of such headlines. But no, I don't think she should go. I think it'd be highly responsible to call for her resignation. I don't think Kemi realises calling for the resignation over something. It was wrong, but it was minor. It's going to cause such shockwaves.
Aisha, it's actually officially illegal.
Oh, absolutely. But when you think about it, if you actually break it down, and I work with landlords. I know a number of landlords. My dad is a landlord, and I know how licensing and so on. We're lucky in Bradford, it hasn't come in yet, but in other areas, Leeds, for example, and obviously London as well, lots of landlords have been caught out. They're just not really made aware of what's going on.
No,
so that's
Aisha,
actually that's a discussion that we need to have separately. Sorry, Tom.
I completely take that point, that this is a confusing system. It's different in different parts of the country. Loads of impositions are put on landlords. Landlords, frankly, have been whacked around the head consistently by government after government after government. And yet, Rachel Reeves was one of the most prominent politicians campaigning to introduce this licensing scheme in her own area. She knows about this licensing scheme. She campaigned for this licensing scheme. To me, I don't think it should exist. I think it piles on too much complication and too much burden onto landlords, and they'll be dissuaded from providing the housing that we so desperately need. But surely the charge here is hypocrisy. A politician who campaigned for these rules didn't abide by them herself.
First of all, Tom, thank you so much. You have literally spoken truth to power for loads of landlords up and down the country. The level of stress that people are going through right now, they just don't want to be in the rental market anymore. They don't want to be landlords. They've just had enough. I know so many who've just decided we've just had enough, and they've put their properties on the market. So this is, again, I think we should take this opportunity to discuss the pressures that landlords are facing. Obviously, I'm here to talk about Rachel Reeves and what she has done or not done in this case. So just one more thing, by the way, Kemi's mentioned, obviously I was listening to her interview, that landlords are furious and they've had to fork out thousands and so on. We're talking about £945. This is what the licence cost was. And if you actually look at what the spokesperson said last night, Rachel Reeves, obviously, the property is in Dulwich, it's in London, it's not in Leeds. And the letting agency that she used didn't inform her that this is what you need to do. But I agree with you guys. She should have checked herself. She's in such an important position. She's a chancellor. She should have taken that upon herself to check. But To say that she needs to resign on the back of this, I don't think so whatsoever. The damage that's going to cause to the economy, the jitteriness and everything, it's just going to be huge. So we want to keep everything as stable as possible going into the next budget, which obviously there's all these rumours. We have no idea what's going to happen. We don't know if there's going to be a 1 pence increase, a 2 pence increase, and so on. Everybody is waiting, including myself, obviously. I'm a taxpayer. I work. So many of my friends do as well, and colleagues, and we're all waiting because whatever the announcements, everybody is going to have to pay, regardless whether it's going to be duty sort of increase in petrol costs, fuel costs, food costs have already gone so high.
It could be a painful budget. Aisha Ali Khan, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks indeed for joining us.
Okay, lots of you getting in touch. She broke the law. She should go. Full stop. That's it. End of story.
Yeah, don't campaign for laws that are clearly too complicated to follow.
She sets the laws.
The White House, in other news, floats a return to US nuclear testing for the first time in a generation, sparking alarm from allies and fierce debate in Washington. But after the break.
Yeah, exactly a year on from the budget, how worried are Britain's farmers as another budget looms? We'll be talking to some in Oxfordshire. Well, that and much more to come. This is GB News at Britain's News Channel. We'll see you very soon.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Oh, dear Lord.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 28 minutes past 1 on an anniversary. Yes, it's not just Will Godley's birthday. No, today also marks 1 year since the infamous 2024 autumn budget.
You promised not to mention Will Godley's birthday. We're not meant to mention it. It's Will Godley's birthday and we've mentioned it. Damn. OK, GB News is meeting with farmers and industry leaders who can outline the damage inheritance tax has done in just 1 short year.
Well, our very own Will Godley, third time's the charm, our national reporter joins us now. Over to you, Will.
Yeah, Tom, hello from the South Fawley farm here on the Oxfordshire-Berkshire border. It's 1,800 acres of arable crops, but the farmers here who we've been speaking to all morning and into the afternoon have all been telling us it's been the toughest 12 months that they've ever faced. A large part of that, of course, down to what happened this time last year. Rachel Reeves' budget changing those rules around inheritance tax for farmers, giving people here a real headache, but also the uncertainty around what's going to happen in about 4 weeks' time at her next budget. Will there be yet more pitfalls for farmers? Well, here to unpack all of that is Tim Bamford from the CLA, Country Land and Business Association, because it's not just this farm who are having all kinds of troubles. It's happening across the country, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're seeing this across England and Wales with all types of businesses across the rural economy, and they just do not know what to do next.
And why is it? What was it that happened 12 months ago today that's caused all these headaches?
I mean, fundamentally, after the budget, we saw a sea change in tax policy. We've had a plan and we've had a policy for years, which we've worked to. That was withdrawn overnight, and suddenly everyone's having to work out what that means for their businesses.
And what kind of an impact has that had on rural communities across Britain?
It's catastrophic. You talked about uncertainty. We need planning and long-term certainty for our businesses, and this has just changed that. So whether you are growing wheat, you're raising cows, you're thinking about rural diversification projects, we just don't know what we're doing anymore.
Because what we've heard across the morning is that diversification of farming is so important because you can't just rely on one form of revenue anymore. How much has that been impacted after last year's budget?
Absolutely. We've always talked about the weather and commodity prices, and we just need a plan. That's why we have different diversifying businesses, and that's what government has encouraged us to do. And it brings in so many more people into the rural economy and increases growth.
So, Tim, we're about 4 weeks away from the Chancellor's next budget. What are you hoping, what are you lobbying for her to include?
I mean, fundamentally, what we would like to see is a sea change reversal of this policy. And we'd like the government to come and sit round the table with us and industry and talk about how we can do that best and how we can basically grow the rural economy, which people want to do.
Well, Tim, that's the Chancellor. Of course, many people today saying her position is untenable after, of course, getting the wrong licence or not getting a licence at all for a property she was renting in South London. Tim, I'm sure you probably would have said her position untenable 12 months ago. Do you follow these calls today?
Not so much, but fundamentally what we would like to see is any Chancellor and any government look at this issue seriously, talk to us and work out a way forwards.
Tim Bamford, thank you very much for joining us on GB News. We've got a statement from the government. They said most estates claiming agricultural and business property reliefs will be unaffected by the changes, and that they said to support farmers, we're providing a record £11.8 billion for sustainable farming, Tom.
Will, thanks very much for all of that, and happy birthday.
You weren't meant to mention that.
Thank you.
Oh, goodness me.
Thank you.
Brilliant stuff.
Will.
Yeah.
And also, while we're on the subject of birthdays, happy birthday to Caroline. It was her birthday yesterday, so belated happy birthday, Caroline.
Absolutely. GBNews.com/you'll say is the way to tell us that it's your birthday too.
Yeah. But don't go too far, there's loads more coming up on today's show. But first, it's the news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much. The top story. Sir Keir Starmer has dismissed calls for an investigation into the Chancellor after she apologised for admitting to breaking housing rules when renting out her family home. Kemi Badenoch says Rachel Reeves should be sacked if she raises taxes in next month's budget. The Conservative leaders accused Labour of breaking promises and delivering high taxes and out-of-control spending. The Prince and Princess of Wales have slammed grossly intrusive paparazzi images of their children on a French skiing holiday earlier this year. A court has ruled a French magazine has breached the privacy and image rights of the royal couple and their children. The Prisons Minister has defended paying migrant sex offender Hadoush Kabatu £500 to agree to his deportation, calling it a sensible decision to avoid further disruption. Those are the headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, thank you, Tatiana. Lots more still to come.
Indeed, the White House floats a return to US nuclear testing, sparking alarm from allies and fierce debate in Washington.
Well, all of that and much, much more. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After a chilly start, there will be some hazy spells of sunshine around today, soon turning wet and windy from the west, however, and that's all because we've got an area of low pressure starting to move its way in from the Atlantic, bringing with it some frontal systems, so some clouds, some rain, also plenty of isopars on that chart. So it is going to start to turn quite blustery, particularly across Northern Ireland, where we have got a weather warning issued. We could see gust speeds of around 50 to 60 miles per hour in these areas. Spells of rain also pushing into western areas of Scotland, northwest England, but elsewhere it should be mostly dry, plenty of cloud though, creating a more milky kind of sunshine, and still on the chilly side, highs reaching around 14 degrees Celsius in the south. More rain will eventually spread across Scotland through the course of the evening. This could be quite heavy at times, and it is going to start to turn quite blustery, particularly around western and northwestern coasts. Fairly similar across Northern Ireland, heavy spells of rain and also those blustery winds continuing through the early hours of the evening. We might just start to see some of that rain start to push into western areas of Wales, parts of southwest England by the time we reach the evening. Elsewhere it will remain mostly dry, still plenty of cloud around though, but those winds are certainly going to pick up through the course of the night, particularly around western areas, any exposed coasts. We could see some quite gusty conditions as this band of heavy rain spreads its way eastwards, eventually clearing off into the North Sea, allowing some drier, clearer spells to develop, though it is still going to be fairly windy, so that will keep temperatures up, many towns and cities around into the low double digits. So a milder start as we head into Friday, a mix of patchy cloud, also some sunny spells, but we are still expecting some quite heavy and intense showers, particularly as we head our way towards the afternoon. This band of heavy rain pushing in from the west. This could bring some hail and thunder at times too. Still very windy as we get into the afternoon, but feeling a little bit milder, highs reaching around 16 to 17 degrees.
Thank you, Britain, for sharing over 5 million comments on your say. Because when you talk, we listen.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A720 eastbound at Hermiston Gate, a broken down vehicle is causing delays. Motorists should take care. On the M6 northbound between junctions 18 and 19, one lane is closed. In Derbyshire, the A38 southbound is congested between the A50 and A5132. The M5 northbound in Worcestershire between junction 8 and 7 has over 1.5 hours of delays. In Surrey, the M25 anti-clockwise between junction 10 and 9 is closed due to an overturned vehicle. And on the trains, the Gatwick Express has no service between London Victoria and Brighton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Tell them what we're talking about now, Tom.
Absolutely no way on God's earth should we discuss what we were talking about during the advert break.
I might do. Give it to the end of the show and I'm definitely going to reveal
Oh,
what
that's a
Tom
reason
was
to
just
stay watching.
telling me.
No, I think it was you with the vivid imagery. Let's move on. Donald Trump has ordered the Pentagon to resume nuclear weapons testing for the first time in over 30 years.
Yeah, it comes just hours after Russia announced it had successfully tested a nuclear-capable underwater drone.
Well, the US president revealed the move on social media, adding that he had no choice because other countries were ramping up their testing programmes.
Yeah, a former commander of the UK and NATO chemical, biological and nuclear forces, Hamish de Breton-Gordon, joins us now. Hamish, what do you make? Am I right to be scared? He's not, I am. Am I right?
Well, I think there are a couple of things to consider here. I think, first of all, President Trump is getting increasingly, I think, annoyed with Putin, who he keeps telling him to come to the peace negotiation table and stop fighting in Ukraine, and he's clearly not doing that. And the second thing is whether we're looking at potentially a new nuclear arms race. You've mentioned the Poseidon torpedo, this underwater drone that can create a tsunami that the Russians have tested. But also this week, they've said that they've tested and developed a new nuclear-powered cruise missile that can travel for thousands of kilometres and stay in the air for hours, if not days. So I think against that rhetoric coming out of Russia, it's not too surprising that Trump wants to wave his own nuclear sabre, as it were, and the Americans haven't, in theory, tested their capability for the last 30 years. But he is now rattling that sabre. And I think this is part of the sort of spat between Putin and Trump at the moment. I think that Putin is really clutching at straws here and is having difficulty keeping his fight going in Ukraine. So, yeah, I think one should be concerned and worried because it is about nuclear weapons. But it seems to me this is further saber rattling in Trump's attempt to stop the war in Ukraine and Putin's attempt to keep it going.
I mean, is this now clearly escalation in so many different ways? We've seen reports that China is adding about 100 nuclear warheads each and every year. The Americans are starting tests again. Putin has probably been going beyond treaty restrictions for some years now, and that probably forms part of Trump's assessment here. Are we now sort of in a post-nuclear disarmament age? I mean, we had all of those treaties in the 1990s where everyone was going to stop using nuclear weapons. I mean, that was sort of a 30-year period. And can we confidently say now that sort of period's over?
Well, I think we can certainly say that the peace war dividend over the last 30 years has been well and truly spent. And we're now into a new Cold War. As you say, the Chinese are increasing their holdings of nuclear weapons massively. The North Koreans appear to have it now as well. But it's just that word that really brings everybody to the table and everybody's attention. And let's not forget, the reason that Ukraine was invaded by Russia is that Ukraine had to give up its own nuclear weapons back in 1994 with the Budapest Treaty, where Russia, America and Britain guaranteed Ukraine's safety. But without those nuclear weapons, Russia was happy to move in. So it is a really challenging time. And, you know, when we are talking about these weapons, which after all can destroy the world many times over, people are right to be concerned. The only thing I would say as a caveat is when we look back to the end of the sort of Second World War, when these weapons were developed, in effect, they have kept the global peace since then. So let's hope that President Trump and Putin, despite all their rhetoric, colourful rhetoric, actually realise that this Armageddon, as it were, is absolutely not what they want. And as long as there is parity in the nuclear world, I personally believe it will unlikely that anybody will actually use these weapons. But it is concerning with so much talk of it going on at the moment.
Hamish, one final question. How vulnerable is the UK? I mean, given the lack of spending on our armed forces and the cuts that all branches have faced, how vulnerable is the UK in this situation?
Well, I think in this situation, from a nuclear perspective, of course, we do have our own nuclear deterrent, Trident, and axiomatically, I think that puts us in a much better position, because if Putin is threatening us, he knows that although, you know, we only have a couple of hundred warheads compared to his thousands, even our couple of hundred warheads are enough to flatten half of Russia. So in a way, as long as we keep our nuclear capability and Trident and make sure that it works when we need it, I think we are in a slightly better position.
That's a crucial qualifying point, isn't it?
Isn't it?
There was a test recently that suggested our Trident system perhaps wasn't up to scratch.
Well, I think that's a really good point, that we tested a Trident missile, I think it was last year, and it didn't work. But then we hear that other tests have been done and they do work. But it sort of really emphasises perhaps what President Trump is saying. Now is the time for the Americans to absolutely make sure theirs work, because that's what the Russians are doing. And if one side doesn't think the others are going to work, then they are potentially more likely to use them.
Hamish, I'm not entirely sure I'm reassured that much, but thank you very much for joining us on that one. That's former commander of the UK and NATO nuclear forces, Hamish de Bretton Gordon. Yeah, I mean, we both went, but when we did try it last time, it didn't really work, did it?
That's the crucial point. I mean, nuclear deterrence is such a strange thing. You have to be dealing with rational actors on either side, and each actor has to believe the other might press the big red button. And if they don't think that the big red button could be pressed, or that the big red button actually works, then you might as well have no nuclear weapons at all, because you've got no deterrent.
You know when you said rational actors?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see a big hole in that particular argument straight away.
Yeah.
OK, let us know what you think, though, obviously. gbnews.com/your sake. And there's loads more coming up on today's show. We'll be live in Edinburgh as the city celebrates Poppy Day.
But if you're in search of some holiday sunshine, here's the weather in Europe.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you are looking to escape the very mixed weather across the UK, well, it's going to also be mixed across much of the Mediterranean. Not everywhere. We are going to see some fine weather on Friday through parts of Greece, particularly the Greek islands. But we've got this area of low pressure bringing some heavy rain to southern Italy, showers to northern Italy as well. Mostly fine to eastern Spain for now, but some wet and windy conditions across Portugal, and they spread east, albeit slowly, through the weekend and early next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The Royal British Legion is launching the Poppy Appeal to raise funds to support the armed forces community.
Well, the launch will be held at Frameless, where veterans supported by the RBL will share their stories amid a spectacular, immersive poppy landscape projection.
Well, the appeal will encourage the nation to wear a poppy to send a personal message of thanks to those who serve.
Well, let's talk to our national reporter, Will Godley.
And this is all part of the Royal British Legion's fundraising, this Poppy Appeal, happening from now until Armistice Day on, of course, 11th of November, raising money for the armed forces community. They're hoping to raise £50 million to support the some 7,000 veterans, family members and armed forces. And when you were in Afghanistan, that's when your military career came to an unexpected end, wasn't it? What happened there?
So I was the point man in a foot patrol, and unfortunately I was involved in an explosion which subsequently took my hearing from my left ear, and due to that I was forced to leave the army for medical reasons.
And since then, Jason, you've been supported by the Royal British Legion. What kind of support have they offered for you?
Well, it's a vast array of support, really. It can be financial, you know, mental health. They can signpost you for different various charities and support that, you know, as veterans that we really essentially do need, you know, to rebuild our lives and get to a better point, you know, and be positive in our lives and know that we've got that hand on our shoulder when it's needed.
And I can hear you sounding a little bit emotional talking about it. What kind of a difference has that made, that support, on your life?
Oh, it's massive, you know, you can't really... It's not something you can put into words.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 10 to 2. And today marks Poppy Day in both London and Edinburgh as serving and ex-service volunteers collect for the Royal British Legion.
Well, people have gathered across the capitals to raise money for the annual appeal ahead of Remembrance Sunday.
GB News Scotland reporter Tony Maguire joins us now in Edinburgh.
Hello, good afternoon. Well, our sun is just slowly disappearing here in Edinburgh. It's been an absolutely fantastic day and a great day for what has turned out to be a bit of a mini festival for Poppy Day here in Edinburgh. We've seen lots of fundraising, we've seen lots of acts, including the pipe band, we've seen the Scots Marine Guard band, we've seen the wives choirs, the military wives choirs from Edinburgh and Rosyth. It's really been something of a festival atmosphere here in the middle of Edinburgh, and just over my right shoulder here as well you can see some fantastic old military vehicles, many of them, a lot of work going into them, but you know, some of them actually date back a full 80 plus years. Now it's interesting because I spoke to a couple of those members, Shirley and Brian. They're a couple, they've been coming to events like this to fundraise for Poppy Scotland for well over a decade now, and while you and I know the importance of the poppy, I was talking to them about how to bridge the gap with the young people. You know, it's been a big part of your life, kind of poppy collecting over the last, well, how many years?
At least 10 years, I think we've been, or no more, because you've been in it 15 years. But it took me a couple of years before I joined in. So some of our members actually go around the primary schools and do talks in the primary schools as well, which is really good. And they take in memorabilia stuff, you know, their weapons, or even I've got a selection of dresses and shoes and things like that. A lot of it's family memorabilia.
I believe that most of the schools, it's on the school curriculum this year, World War II.
You know, it never really fails to amaze me when you actually see living history in action, and you know, the kids actually just coming up to Shirley and Brian, you know, to ask them about those uniforms. Brian's there is an authentic World War II uniform, you know, so even that's got a good thread count on it for its age. But here, certainly in Edinburgh, we're kind of starting that 12-day countdown now, as of course we are across the UK towards Armistice Day. There's a lot of funds to be raised, and of course we heard about that big £1 million target that was down in London. No such number here, but certainly, you know, as always, Poppy Scotland has always got, you know, a good fundraising, a lot of money coming in, and that money, of course, crucially goes to help ex-servicemen and veterans, their families, and everything from employment to education and of course housing. So, you know, it's really nice being here in a great festival atmosphere for a great cause, and what was, you know, until a few minutes ago, a very great day of weather. So, you know, a good time to now think back about the veterans as we look towards the 11th of November.
Absolutely. What a moment to reflect, to mark, to think about the people who are still serving now and who have served for all of these years. Of course, Tony, poppies in Scotland look a little bit different to the poppies in England. 4 leaves as opposed to the 2.
Yeah, that's right. So this poppy, would you believe, is going to be 100 next year, and it's been manufactured in the same factory in Edinburgh for all that time. But of course, the money goes into Poppy Scotland, slightly different, but at the root of it all is still the same British Armed Forces. So, you know, very much 2 channels for the money to all go and help one fantastic group of people.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. I think it's so important as well, Tony, you said about youngsters getting involved. When in my local station today, we had a military band there and the youngsters there actually loving every second of it. So it's a really, really good way to raise awareness. If you want to donate, you can just go to the Royal British Legion online as well and make an online donation if there is no collections near you.
Absolutely. Well, Tony, thanks indeed for joining us live from Edinburgh there.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for all your comments as well. gbnews.com/yoursay if you do want to get in touch. And as I said, if you want to make a donation but you're nowhere near any collectors today, Royal British Legion, you can donate very, very easily online. And it's just so important that we never forget everyone that sacrificed in recent conflicts as well, everyone that has given their all for us to live in freedom.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
No,
and tell the kids as well. That's the important
That's
thing.
the thing,
Tell the
passing
kids.
it on from one generation to the next, because the further we get away from the big conflicts of the past, the risk there is that that's forgotten. But so much more still to come here on Good Afternoon Britain. Don't move muscle. More on Rachel Reeves after the weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After a chilly start this morning, tonight will be milder. There will be some spells of rain though, and it is going to be rather windy across much of the country, particularly across Northern Ireland, where we'll start to see outbreaks of rain this afternoon, all down to low pressure, pushing in these frontal systems, so cloud, rain, and also some quite strong gusty winds. Where we have our weather warning issued for Northern Ireland, we could see wind speeds of between 50 to 60 miles per hour. It's going to be turning blustery for all though. This band of heavy rain shifts its way eastwards into the North Sea, turning a little drier for a time as we head closer towards dawn, though we can't rule out some showers lingering around for some. Nevertheless, though, it is going to be a milder start to the day, many towns and cities in the low double digits. So we'll see a mix of clouds, some clearer skies to start the day. There will be some showers quickly moving through though, particularly across the south, some heavy showers pushing up from the English Channel there. Some of these could be quite heavy and it is going to be quite blustery, particularly around any western coast. But for Northern Ireland, it is going to be a much brighter start than what we saw this morning. And similar across parts of Scotland, a mix of clouds, some clearer skies towards the north, though we can't rule out a risk of showers. And that is the theme through much of the day, though some of these showers could be quite heavy, some bring some quite intense downpours, particularly this area into the west as we head towards the afternoon. Some strong blustery winds and some heavy bands of rain. This could bring in some hail and thunder. And it is going to be quite a blustery day for all, but with the slightly blustery weather, that does bring in some milder air, so highs reaching around 16 to 17 degrees Celsius in the south. Through into the evening, for any trick-or-treaters that might be out and about, there'll be once again a mix of some drier spells and also some showers. These showers turning to quite an intense band of rain across parts of the southwest through the course of the evening. And as we progress into the weekend, the showery theme continues, though it should start to feel a little bit milder from Monday onwards.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here to GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 30th of October. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Neeson. Sir Keir Starmer rejects calls to investigate Rachel Reeves after she admits renting out her London home without the right licence. She apologises. The PM says the case is closed, but the Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch says there should be an investigation.
I think there needs to be an investigation. If she has broken the law, then she should go. In Keir Starmer's own words, lawmakers should not be lawbreakers.
Right, pressure on Rachel Reeves now about her house in southeast London. Why didn't she licence it, and will she pay a fine?
And exactly a year on from the budget, how worried are British farmers as another budget looms?
Yeah, the farmers here say it's been the toughest 12 months they've ever faced. They'll be telling me the challenges they've been facing, plus how the government can help.
And migrants deported to France are already trying to come back. Lawyers say some were left homeless and are now waiting in Calais to cross again. Are the returns flights really working?
And stateside, President Trump orders for immediate testing of Americans' nuclear weapons, just hours after Russia announced its testing of a nuclear-capable underwater drone.
And tired of turkey? It seems a lot of Brits are too. Nearly 1 in 5 of us are swapping the bird for curry, pasta and either pizza this Christmas. Turkeys are indeed stuffed.
I don't know why turkey's traditional at Christmas. It's not even native to this part of the world. I mean, why do we eat turkey?
That's a really good question. You know, I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah.
In Dickens, it's always geese.
Yes, Justin Urquhart Stewart is in the studio with us to talk about finances and stuffing birds.
But yes, no, clearly the more important story, Justin, is of course the geese, because in a Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol.
It's the Christmas.
Go and get me the largest goose in the market.
Yes. Yes. When did we switch from geese to turkeys? This is the Americanisation of Britain.
I will find out. I will bravely venture into Google and find
Walter Riley probably sent some back on one of his things. You can have tobacco and you can have a turkey.
Yes, but I mean, clearly it didn't take off until after the Second World War, I'd imagine.
I don't like turkey in any case.
It's dry. It's a dry bird. I don't like it.
It's a dry old bird.
Well, this is why you need to smother it in gravy. And I'm a traditionalist. I have turkey every Christmas. But now I'm questioning my priors. How traditional actually is turkey?
Have a goose. Have a goose instead. OK, we will bring you that breaking news on turkey.
I've just had it through on my ear, some breaking news. It was the 1950s that turkeys were introduced as Christmas dinners in the United Kingdom.
Mm. Well, we'll find out more on that one for us, and you can look forward to hearing all about it after news headlines with Tatiana Sancho.
Dawn, thank you. The top stories. Sir Keir Starmer has dismissed calls for an investigation into the Chancellor Rachel Reeves after she apologised for admitting to breaking housing rules when renting out her family home. In a letter to the Prime Minister, Ms Reeves admitted she did not obtain a selective rental licence required to rent out her London home and sincerely apologised for her, quote, inadvertent error. In reply, Sir Keir Starmer said he was happy the matter can be drawn to a close after consulting his independent ethics advisor, who's decided not to launch an investigation. The Conservatives, though, have called for an investigation and say Ms Reeves should be sacked if she's found to have broken the law. Kemi Badenoch spoke exclusively to GB News' political editor, Christopher Hope.
I've just spoken to two landlords this morning who rent homes in Southwark, and they said that they spend thousands of pounds on these lettings regulations, and she should not be allowed to get off scot-free. I think there needs to be an investigation. If she has broken the law, then she should go. In Keir Starmer's own words, lawmakers should not be lawbreakers.
Kemi Badenoch says Rachel Reeves should be sacked if she raises taxes in next month's budget. Speaking at a pre-budget rally, the Conservative leader accused Labour of breaking promises and delivering high taxes and out-of-control spending. It comes after Sir Keir Starmer refused to repeat his pledge not to raise income tax, national insurance or VAT at Prime Minister's questions yesterday, fuelling speculation of tax hikes to plug a £20 billion black hole in the public's finances. Labour insists the Conservatives have no credibility on the economy, saying their focus is on fixing the long-term damage and putting money back into people's pockets. A former Afghan asylum seeker allegedly stabbed two people he was lodging with and murdered a passerby, according to prosecutors. Safi Dawood appeared in court this morning, charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. He's been remanded in custody. Emergency services were called to Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge in West London early on Monday evening to reports of a multiple stabbing. The 22-year-old suspect was tasered and arrested at the scene. Despite the efforts of medics, 49-year-old Wayne Broadhurst was pronounced dead at the scene, having suffered multiple stab wounds. He was a local resident who'd been out walking his dog when he was attacked. 2 other people, a 45-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy, were stabbed and injured. The court heard how the accused had been living with the 45-year-old and the teenager at a house in Midhurst Gardens. Elsewhere, the Prince and Princess of Wales have slammed grossly intrusive paparazzi images of their children on a French skiing holiday earlier this year. A court has ruled a French magazine has breached the privacy and image rights of the royal couple and their children. Paris Match magazine published an article on the 16th of April this year, which included long-lens paparazzi photographs and intrusive details of a private family holiday in the Alps. The Prince and Princess sued the magazine for the breach of privacy. The court has ruled that Paris Match had infringed their privacy and image rights. President Donald Trump called on US military leaders to resume testing US nuclear weapons in order to keep pace with other countries like Russia and China. Mr. Trump made the announcement on social media just before meeting with the Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea. The US has more nuclear weapons than any other country, Donald Trump said, with Russia second and China a distant third. It has not conducted nuclear weapons testing since 1992. This comes just days after President Trump denounced Russia for testing a nuclear-powered missile, which reportedly has an unlimited range. He did not include details of how the test would occur, but wrote the process will begin immediately. It marks an apparent reversal of a long-standing US policy. Finally, the UK has chartered flights to help transport British nationals out of Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa ripped through the Caribbean. Up to 8,000 British citizens are on holiday in Jamaica as it reels from one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes in history. People have been ordered to stay indoors after Hurricane Melissa swept over the Caribbean island, which is also home to 50,000 dual nationals with tourists locked down in hotels. The Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office says it's chartering the flights to help bolster commercial capacity. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more from me at 2:30.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3173 and €1.1361. The price of gold, £3,026 and 3 pence per ounce. The FTSE 100 is at 9,699 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 8 minutes past 2, and the Chancellor is not having a good day. No, Rachel Reeves admitted breaking local housing rules by renting out her London home without the required licence.
The property in Southwark was let for around £3,200 a month after she moved into Downing Street following Labour's election win last year.
Well, let's get the details with our political editor, Christopher Hope. Bit of a sticky situation for the Chancellor.
Yeah, it certainly is. Of course, Rachel Reeves is able to live in number 11 Downing Street. That's because she's a Chancellor. Therefore, she can let out her home, the family home that they have in South East London. They've done so, but they haven't had a licence to do so, as you're meant to do in that part of the capital. And that's now a problem because it's emerged that she hadn't got a licence, that she hurriedly had to put a licence application in yesterday. And then she reported herself to the Prime Minister, who got Laurie Magnus to investigate. He's the standards expert advising the Prime Minister. The PM then cleared her just before midnight. The rush to do all this isn't explained. I suspect it was to keep the markets reassured, because when we've previously had a wobble, literally a wobbling lip from the Chancellor in the chamber, that prompted the pound to fall, because any concern about the status of the Chancellor does force the markets to worry, because they worry about who might come next. They do trust the Chancellor. There she is meeting with the local people there on a different visit. They do trust her to hold her own and abide by these various commitments she's made on borrowing, and that's what's keeping the bond markets calm. So Number 10 won't comment on that, but that's the only reason I can think of about the rush to get this all sorted out late last night when many of us were asleep. But we fast forward now. We don't know what Southwark Council will do yet. The leader of the opposition in Southwark Council is saying that the council should investigate. There's a possibility she may have to pay back a very large sum. The Telegraph reports £38,000 because she'll have let out that property when it wasn't licensed, and that's very serious. And landlords, of course, have been telling Kemi Badenoch, the Tory leader, at a campaign event earlier, that they've had to spend thousands of pounds themselves if they have to get a licence for various properties. Why can't the same apply to Rachel Reeves? She's been caught out, really, by an oversight. She didn't benefit financially from this in the same way Angela Rayner did by underpaying her tax mistakenly, but she has it's a further evidence, I think, of a slight chaotic side to some of the way she is privately. She had to restate elements of her CV, of course, famously early this year. That was awkward for her, and now we find out she's not fully licensed to be a landlord.
I mean, Christopher, she can't claim that she wasn't aware of this scheme, because only in 20th of October, which wasn't that long ago, she welcomed Leeds City Council's decision to expand their selective landlord licensing policy to include a certain area of Leeds. So she was very much aware of it, and the 20th of October is not that long ago.
She's clearly aware of the idea of these selective licences. She has supported the rolling out of those licences in Leeds, where she represents. Of course, what they do is they require landlords to meet certain standards, safety thresholds, safety documentation, ensure that the flat, the house, the property is kept habitable. She may not have known that it applied to her property in South East London. That's certainly what her team is saying. We're told that they hadn't been warned about this by an estate agent, and therefore they hadn't acted. So it wasn't an inadvertent error she's now trying to correct.
Interesting. Well, Christopher Hope, thanks indeed for the overview there. This is an interesting time, and perhaps there's more, even though the Prime Minister wants to say case closed, nothing more to see here. It does feel to me like one of those stories where more is going to eke out
in fact,
as time
by
goes
saying
on.
that, I think a lot of people are going, actually, there is a lot more to see here, isn't there?
Well, there
and
is.
We need it.
There will be, and I'll be heading to the afternoon lobby briefing this afternoon at 3:45 to find out what it is.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Well, Christopher Hope, we'll catch you later on the channel.
Thank you, Christopher. OK, joining us now is political commentator Paul Connew. Paul, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm sorry, if your eyes sort of like had an oversight like this, you know, we would expect to actually face the consequences. What's different with Rachel Reeves? Surely she has to go.
No, come on. It's acutely embarrassing. I accept that, you know, but it's not a sacking offence. There's no comparison with the Angela Rayner case. And I'll disagree with Christopher Hope a little bit on this. I think the reason of this scramble last night was because the Daily Mail had got hold of the story, approached Rachel Reeves' office, and she scrambled into action. Now, the Daily Mail have an agenda. I mean, if I were the Daily Mail editor, I'd be delighted with this one, but because, you know, their agenda is to damage the Labour government.
Hang on, Paul.
Rachel Reeves would be, you know, a boost to that.
Hang on, if anyone else, if any other landlord in the country did not operate with a licence, in one of these areas where you need a licence to rent out your home, the law as it stands is that the people you are renting your property to are entitled to all of their rent back. I mean, this is money that has been improperly taken from her tenants by the Chancellor under the rules that she campaigned for and introduced. Now, you might say the rules are bonkers. I think the rules are bonkers. I think we're far too licensed as it is as a country. It's far too hard to do business without a government licence here and a government licence there and a local council licence over there. But these are the rules that Rachel Reeves herself campaigned for.
But she didn't exactly campaign for it, but yes,
in Leeds she did.
Look, Thomas, I half agree with you, but this isn't a rule that applies across everywhere in the country. It applies in some areas, in some boroughs in London, some others. And funnily enough, I have friends living in that area, not exactly renting their houses out, but who, when I asked them, did you know about this particular local bylaw, and it's effectively what it is, and they said, hadn't got a clue. But they also said that if they were contemplating renting their houses out through an estate into a letting agency, which is what the Chancellor did, they'd expect the experts to say, you need a licence in this case. So I accept this was an inadvertent error, but I think Sir Laurie Magnus, you know, the standards czar, or ethics czar, who was tough on Angela Rayner, rightly so, because I wrote in my column that Angela Rayner, who I rather like, but had to go over what happened in her case, to say the Tories sound desperate, you know, saying that this is a sackable offence in Rachel Reeves' case. I think that is a nonsense. You know, what's going to happen is she may or may not be prosecuted or asked to pay the money, which, as I understand it, would be £30,000 plus, potentially that's the highest level, plus repaying her tenants for the last, you know, 8 months or whatever it is. So it probably would be around £38,000 to £40,000. But are the Tories seriously suggesting that she was on the fiddle here, that she was trying to avoid a regulation?
That's not the charge, Paul. The charge is incompetence. The charge is, frankly, is the Chancellor OK? She doesn't seem to be on top of her brief, she doesn't seem to be on top of her CV, and she doesn't seem to be on top of her personal financial situation.
Well, come on, if it's true, and I've no reason to doubt it, if it's true that she rented the property via an estate agent, you know, specialists in renting out property, then you'd expect her to have been advised, you know, of this liability. And if she wasn't, but as I say, it is so different from the Angela Rayner case.
Sorry, Paul, can I just interrupt? In what way is it different? Angela Rayner's defence was, well, I expected to be advised by an expert in this. I was given the wrong advice. In what way is it different?
Angela Rayner was escaping, you know, inadvertently, or even if it was intentional. She was escaping a large amount of money on stamp duty. This is a very different case. And Sir Laurie Magnus, the ethics czar, was very tough, rightly so, on Angela Rayner. But his view, and I'm prepared to accept it, is that this case is different and it doesn't require an investigation. And the ministerial code, which would be at the heart of this, does allow an apology to be sufficient in certain circumstances. And I think this one falls into the apology. I've made a mistake. I've been a bit stupid, rather than this is a national scandal that requires my resignation or the Prime Minister to sack me.
Well, I mean, Paul, you mentioned that, you know, your friends who are landlords, they didn't know anything about this. But your friends, with all due respect...
No, I didn't say they're landlords. I didn't say they were landlords.
But they didn't understand this ruling. But your friends or your people you were talking about aren't running the country. She is running the country. She is the one that's setting stamp duty for landlords, changing stamp duty for landlords. So she should know what she's doing with properties.
Yes, but it's inadvertent. Yes, do you know every single bylaw of your local borough?
I'm not in government.
I certainly wouldn't lay claim to do so.
I'm not in government.
If I were to rent out a house that I was fortunate enough, a spare house that I was fortunate enough to have, I think I would want to follow the law. I don't think it's an extreme or unreasonable expectation that people do follow the law.
But if you put, and the Chancellor is a very busy person, if you put a reputable estate agent to handle this, and they don't tell you you need to pay, was it £945, I think it is, to get this licence. And just a matter of, I don't think this makes a huge difference, but the reason for these licences, the primary reason for them, is to make sure properties are up to living standards, that they have proper heating, they're not full of...
Which is why it can actually cost a lot more than £900 if you have to install fire doors or do anything else that the licence might require of you. So she might have avoided more money. We don't know. But Paul Connery, we're going to have to leave it there. It's been an interesting conversation, though. Political commentator Paul Connery there. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, OK. And ignorance is no defence of the law in any case.
No.
So. OK, now, this comes as the Chancellor is reportedly considering a 2p rise on income tax in a move that would breach Labour's manifesto.
Well, joining us now is economics expert Justin Urquhart-Stewart. Justin, can you explain what there seems to be rumoured now? It's a bit of a complicated thing. Income tax would go up, but strangely, national insurance would go down.
Well, bear in mind at the moment, here we are, lots of kites flying at the moment. So what they want to do is throw out the ideas and almost, in many ways, frighten people, because when we do get around to the budget, it'll end up, it's not as bad as we all thought it was going to be. Now, mind you, I still think it's going to be pretty bad. So what are they trying to do here? Well, I presume what she's going to do is say, look, mea culpa, things have changed, and so therefore what I did in the last budget, she won't say this, was wrong, but things have changed, therefore my views could change. So by increasing income tax, focusing on that, it's a tax that actually brings in a sensible amount of money. Remember, there are only three main taxes in this country. We've got VAT, you've got national insurance, you've got income tax. Even corporation tax is relatively small compared to them. So you can muck around with other bits and pieces and not really get much money. It's income tax. So if you focus on that, therefore you're hitting everybody, including sort of pensioners who may have too much money, and be able to sit there and make sure they get included in it. Meanwhile, the workers, actually, they won't see so much difference on it. They'll pay income tax, but national insurance, remember, actually would be covering all workers. If you're not working, that doesn't affect you so much. So I wouldn't be at all surprised. Put income tax up, put national insurance down, and it's sort of, for the working person, it sort of doesn't make a huge amount of difference, but it will actually make a significant amount more money coming in for her.
But it will be going after the grannies.
It will be going after the grannies, yeah, well, call me what you like, but I mean...
But there are people, retired people in this country feel like this government has been going after them on a lot of fronts, whether it's coming after their homes, coming after their winter fuel allowance. People feel like this is a government that's been going after those on, pensions.
Well, if you've obeyed the rules over the years, which is save up enough money to make sure you can look after yourself, you're not dependent upon the state, you're not going to be a burden on the state, and yet the rules keep on changing, so suddenly the value of your pensions is going to be adjusted, you can only save so much, and then they start taxing it further as well. Hang on a second, I'm supposed to change my investment rules when I'm at the last wrong end of my life. That's the wrong way round. And so, yes, it's very unfair indeed. But where else is she going to get the money from at the moment? And that's going to be a problem. What she has to do is actually focus on something else, which is where does the wealth get created? Go to the companies, new companies setting up, the tech companies setting up. Those are the ones that which are creating wealth. And you want wealth created, because once you've got wealth, you can then tax something. You don't get wealthy by taxing more. That doesn't work.
So do you think this, if it does happen, and it's still a big if, as you say, they're running things up the flagpole and seeing who's a loot, but if she does do this, would it help fill that black hole?
Yeah, it would, and it'd be a reasonable sum, because once you start dealing with those three big taxes, those are the only ones that, frankly, move the dials. And so the difference between income tax and national insurance is just whether you're working or not. Well, having mucked it up with national insurance first time round, because putting a tax on jobs, which everybody admits, even they admit now there was a tax on jobs, and incredibly stupid. So therefore, what's the next hit? The answer is, well, the ones that really can't fight back, called the pensioners.
Are we falling into a big trap here? I can imagine the sort of maniacal laughing in the heart of the Treasury as journalists sort of say, this tax is going to be raised, this tax is going to be raised. And as you said at the start, Justin, if Rachel Reeves stands up there in the dispatch box and only announces half of the tax rises that have been floated, everyone will be thinking, what a blessed relief. Have we fallen into their trap of trying to say everything's going to be much more terrible, and then when it's only bad...
Well, it would actually be a very good tactic to do. Put fear of bejesus into you, and then actually sit there and say, well, it wasn't that bad after all. But unfortunately, she is in a position where financially she can't make them life wonderful. What she could be doing, though, is coming up with some more creative ideas in terms of not spending more money. Remember, we've got things like enterprise investment schemes and those things, which actually provide guarantees to businesses, putting more capital in that, encouraging more investors to come in domestically and externally, and make sure there's some encouragement without any government money, and the only government has to pay up if it goes wrong. Some will. But in the meantime, what you've done is encourage more investment. More investment is more expenditure. More expenditure is more taxation. Why? Because that's what VAT is for. Get the movement of money, speed of money through the economy.
Justin, when she first, just briefly and quickly, when she first announced the fact that she wasn't going to touch income tax, national insurance or VAT, what was your reaction when she first said that?
Incredibly stupid. Why actually turn up with a pair of handcuffs and said, right, this is what I'm going to be able to do over the next few years, but if I just tie my hands together, I can't do anything. You're going to adjust things merely by putting sin taxes on things and up tobacco and alcohol? It doesn't work like that.
Well, of course, she could cut spending.
Yes, that's a way.
The left of the party might have a problem with that one. Justin Urquhart, thank you so much. Always an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Making economics crisp, sexy and full of impact.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more still to come.
Yeah, exactly. A year on from the budget, how worried are Britain's farmers as another one looms? But after the break...
A 22-year-old former Afghan asylum seeker has appeared in court accused of murdering a passerby and stabbing two people he was staying with. We'll have all the latest on that and much more. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Now, an Afghan migrant has appeared in court today charged with murder and attempted murder following a triple stabbing in West London.
Yes, 22-year-old Safi Dawood is charged with murdering Wayne Broadhurst as well as 2 counts of attempted murder in relation to an incident in Uxbridge on Monday.
GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White joined us now. Mark, bring us up to date.
Well, of course, it was an absolutely terrible event that unfolded at 5 o'clock on Monday evening in Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge in West London. Emergency services responding to reports of a multiple stabbing. Well, as a result of that, we now have or had Safi Dawood in court this morning, court number 3 at the Westminster Magistrates Court. He sat in the dock, didn't speak, wore a prison-issue grey tracksuit as the charges were read out to him. And it's one charge of murder in relation to 49-year-old Wayne Broadhurst, a local man who'd been out walking his dog that evening when he was stabbed multiple times, died some 45 minutes later, despite the efforts of paramedics to save him. And also 2 charges of attempted murder, the stabbing of a 45-year-old man who we're told remains in a critical condition. This man, the court heard, is the landlord of the property where Safi Dawood was living, and a 14-year-old boy as well who was stabbed and injured as a result of this incident. Safi Dawood has been remanded back into custody. It's an expedited process. In other words, they are going to move more quickly to the Crown Court appearance. That's going to take place within 48 hours at the Central Criminal Court, the Old Bailey. And it was confirmed, of course, earlier in the week by the Home Office that Safi Dawood is an Afghan national. He arrived here illegally in the back of a lorry in 2020 and was granted asylum 2 years later.
I mean, that's just extraordinary that people who break into this country are then granted asylum at the generosity of this government after 2 years waiting for it, presumably put up in taxpayer-funded accommodation in the meantime, then are standing accused of horrific crimes like this. I mean, it speaks to just failure in every level throughout the system.
Yes, I mean, we've got to say, obviously, in his case, he's entitled to the presumption of innocence until proved guilty or otherwise. So he will have his day in court at some point. But you're right, it absolutely points to some real concerns that there is about multiple incidents that are now being reported that involve those who have entered the country either illegally or have come and are staying illegally. And yeah, it's adding to tensions right around the country. It's the latest in a number of really unfortunate incidents, to say the very least.
And it is real. I mean, I was lucky enough to escape to the Suffolk coast for a day, and this was the topic of conversation there as well, this horrific story and the other recent horrific stories. And a recent investigation by the Sun newspaper discovered that in the first 6 months of this year alone, 339 cases were brought before magistrates, including sexual assault, GBH, ABH and possession of knives and firearms, all involving foreign nationals living in asylum hotels.
Yes, well, as I say, there's no doubt it's to the fore in terms of how, in the public conscience at the moment, the number of incidents involving immigrants. What we have always got to add here, because this is an active court case, is these incidents are unconnected to anything that happened in Uxbridge, and this young man is entitled to his day in court without prejudice.
You know, I was going to say, Mark, just finally and quickly, I was going to ask the question, you know, how long do we have to put up with politicians seemingly putting the rights of migrants before citizens? But we were told that in the summer over the Epping Hotel, weren't we? When that legal case actually involved the judges in that case saying that the human rights of migrants were paramount over those of British citizens. That was a legal defence.
Yes, on a broader point, but specifically on this, I think we can't really go beyond what we've said with regard to this case.
On that case, no, absolutely. But the point is, we were told last summer that our rights came second to migrants, illegal migrants. I mean, that was just like appalling. But
there's no doubt. Listen, it's a live debate. There's a lot of anger right across the country, understandably, at multiple incidents that have been reported. But talking about this on the bare facts of this case,
of course
we have to be very careful what we say at the moment.
Absolutely, and he's professing his innocence.
He's not professing anything at the moment. He's not said a word. So it'll proceed to the Crown Court, next appearance within 48 hours.
Thank you very much indeed.
Mark, thank you very much. Let us know what you think on that one. I'm very angry about this. I'm sure a lot of you are as well. I just feel like I don't count anymore in this country. gbnews.com/your say.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come on today's programme. But first, your latest news headlines.
Thank you. The top stories. Sir Keir Starmer has dismissed calls for an investigation into the Chancellor after she apologised for admitting to breaking housing rules when renting out her family home. Kemi Badenoch says Rachel Reeves should be sacked if she raises taxes in next month's budget. The Conservative leader has accused Labour of breaking promises and delivering high taxes and out-of-control spending. The Prince and Princess of Wales have slammed grossly intrusive paparazzi images of their children on a French skiing holiday earlier this year. A court has ruled a French magazine has breached the privacy and image rights of the royal couple and their children. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. There's more news with Sam Francis at 3 o'clock.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Well, thank you, Tatiana. Lots more still to come.
Exactly a year on from the budget, how worried are Britain's farmers as yet another budget looms?
Has it only been 1 year? It feels like a lifetime.
Time flies when you're having fun, said nobody ever. OK, all of that and much more to come. This is GB News at Britain's News Channel. Don't get far. We'll see you soon.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After a chilly start, there will be some hazy spells of sunshine around today, soon turning wet and windy from the west, however, and that's all because we've got an area of low pressure starting to move its way in from the Atlantic, bringing with it some frontal systems, so some clouds, some rain, also plenty of isobars on that chart. So it is going to start to turn quite blustery, particularly across Northern Ireland, where we have got a weather warning issued. We could see gust speeds of around 50 to 60 miles per hour in these areas. Spells of rain also pushing into western areas of Scotland, northwest England, but elsewhere it should be mostly dry, plenty of cloud though, creating a more milky kind of sunshine, and still on the chilly side, highs reaching around 14 degrees Celsius in the south. More rain will eventually spread across Scotland through the course of the evening. This could be quite heavy at times, and it is going to start to turn quite blustery, particularly around western and northwestern coasts. Fairly similar across Northern Ireland, heavy spells of rain and also those blustery winds continuing through the early hours of the evening. We might just start to see some of that rain start to push into western areas of Wales, parts of southwest England by the time we reach the evening. Elsewhere, it will remain mostly dry, still plenty of cloud around though, but those winds are certainly going to pick up through through the course of the night, particularly around western areas, any exposed coasts. We could see some quite gusty conditions as this band of heavy rain spreads its way eastwards, eventually clearing off into the North Sea, allowing some drier, clearer spells to develop, though it is still going to be fairly windy, so that will keep temperatures up, many towns and cities around into the low double digits. So a milder start as we head into Friday, a mix of patchy cloud, also some sunny spells, but we are still expecting some quite heavy and intense showers, particularly as we head our way towards the afternoon. This band of heavy rain pushing in from the west. This could bring some hail and thunder at times too. Still very windy as we get into the afternoon, but feeling a little bit milder, highs reaching around 16 to 17 degrees.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A8 is restricted in both directions at Langbank roundabout due to a traffic incident. Motorists are advised to use caution and allow extra time for their journey. In Surrey, the M25 anti-clockwise between junction 10 and 9 is disrupted due to an overturned vehicle, with all lanes closed. Plan alternative routes to avoid delays. The M48 has a 7.5 tonnes weight restriction for heavy goods vehicles effective until further notice. And on the trains, there is no Gatwick Express service between London Victoria and Brighton, and Greater Anglia is experiencing disruption between Ipswich and Cambridge. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 20 to 3. Now, today remarkably marks 1 year ago since that famous, or rather infamous, autumn budget last year.
Yeah, how can we forget? It's been a year of fun, hasn't it? GB News is meeting with farmers and industry leaders who can outline the damage inheritance tax has done in just 1 short year.
Well, our national reporter Will Godley joins us now from a farm. Will.
Yeah, Tom, of course, it was 12 months ago today, the day before Halloween last year, where the budget really did impact farmers. And they tell me today it gave them a real fright right before Halloween, a day early, and it's been a real tough 12 months, they've been telling me. This is South Fawley Farm, 1,800 acre farm of arable crops grown here, but they've told me they've had the toughest 12 months they've ever faced, and partly that was down to the weather, but a large part was down to what happened in the budget 12 months ago with the Chancellor changing the rules around inheritance tax, which means farms like this one face a lot bigger tax bill than they had previously, and so having to plan for that. But it's not just farms who are feeling the effect of that budget. It's the community, the local rural community here in South Fawley as well, who are really concerned. Sarah lives in the village. Sarah, thanks for joining us on GB News. How concerned are you about all the issues going on in the farm here?
Well, you make a good point. I mean, the farm is the heart of the community, and it provides so much for the community. A very good example is our social club, which we've had for a peppercorn rent for generations, and it's where we can all meet and be together. But if the farm has to find money, it's a property that could be sold. That would have a big negative impact for us.
And I took a visit down to that social club earlier. There's places to have a drink, there's snooker tables, there's a dart table, there's a film room. It's a really exciting little space for you to come and socialise. I think you go there kind of every sort of day almost, where there's not really many other places for the community here to go. So if that was to close because the farm has to sell that club, what kind of an impact would that have here?
Oh, it's such a negative impact. It would be so sad. I mean, we're a small community and we're a long way from anywhere else. There's nowhere else for us to pop in and meet each other. And so it's open 3 or 4 nights a week. We have different things going on. But best is a Friday night where we can all pop in and have a chat and know what's going on. And people from the farm can come in and tell us what's happening as well. No, it's a great place. I really, really hope that nothing has to happen to it. It would be awful.
Well, you're hopeful. And so is the local MP for Newbury, Lee Dillon, who took a visit to the social club earlier on, and he told me what he's doing to help fight the farmers' corners.
Well, so I've been engaged with my farmers. They've been really great as well at supporting this campaign. We've been up to Parliament lobbying individual MPs and trying to lobby ministers as well. And only this Tuesday I hosted a farming event in the House of Commons where we had the NFU, the CLA and Yellow Wellies, the mental health charity, who have told us that in the last 4 years, farmers' mental health and well-being is at the lowest level.
Well, Lee Dillon there, local MP for Newbury, showing his support for the Social Club and also talking about what he's doing to support farmers in Parliament. Of course, that's ahead of this budget, Sarah, coming up in about 4 weeks' time. Do you feel Westminster really have a grasp on what's happening here in the rural communities?
No, I don't think they do, but I think a lot of the population doesn't understand how critical farmers are to our way of life. I mean, we just need to really nurture and make sure that we can still carry on having this beautiful countryside, having access to it. And the government has to make sure that there isn't a family farming tax that means that small farms, in particular small farms, would go under.
And you've seen firsthand the impact and the struggles of last year's budget on the farm here. What's that been like to watch?
Well, I think it has a negative feeling because people struggle. You know, it's very obvious, the land around here. And so one's very aware when things aren't going well. But the big thing is that all the conservation, all the work that the farm does to allow us all access to the land, if there isn't the leeway for that, then they won't do it. It's a lot of extra work. So it's critical for our enjoyment of the countryside and, of course, our food supply.
Sarah, thanks for joining us on GB News. I can tell you we've got a statement from the Treasury. They've said most estates claiming agricultural and business property reliefs will be unaffected by the changes they made in last year's budget. And they also said to support farmers, we're providing a record £11.8 billion for sustainable farming. But it's hoped that more support will be pledged in the budget in 4 weeks' time.
Thank you very much. That's GB News national reporter Will Godley there. Thank you very much, Will. I mean, the way they've treated the farmers is shocking. It's like they supply the food. I mean, come on, spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come on today's programme, including this cracking story.
Yes, nearly 1 in 5 are ditching turkey for curry, pasta and even pizza this Christmas. Is tradition on the way out? We'll tuck into that story after the break.
But of course, if you're in search of some winter sunshine, here's the weather in Europe.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you are looking to escape the very mixed weather across the UK, well, it's going to also be mixed across much of the Mediterranean. Not everywhere. We are going to see some fine weather on Friday through parts of Greece, particularly the Greek islands. But we've got this area of low pressure bringing some heavy rain to southern Italy, showers to northern Italy as well. Mostly fine to eastern Spain for now, but some wet and windy conditions across Portugal, and they spread east, albeit slowly, through the weekend and early next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live, every night at midnight.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on a BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 10 to 3, and this is the story we've been waiting for all hour.
One of us has been waiting for it all hour, and one of us is looking slightly green about the gills at what they have to do next, OK? Now, there is nothing quite like succulent turkey at Christmas, is there, with all the trimmings? But younger Brits clearly don't think so, as a new report from Tesco has found that nearly 1 in 5 people under 35 are going to serve something completely different this year, aren't they, Tom? What are they going to serve instead?
Yes, from curry and pasta to even pizza, a traditional Christmas pizza.
Now, why is this, Tom? Why are youngsters not having turkey?
They just like to be different, don't they?
Is it? I mean, there is an argument that it could be the cost of living crisis.
Turkey's cheap.
Yeah, but you have to. You sort of like tend to buy a big turkey.
Do you know what? I think
for the traditional Christmas dinner,
it might be that if you're not going to go back and see your parents, I mean, it's a big faff, isn't it? To baste a turkey, to stuff a turkey, to cook it. You'll probably do it wrong. I mean, if you're not going to have a big sort of family Christmas dinner, sort of, if you're under the age of 35, are you going to do all the sort of cooking stuff, all the trimmings? I think that's probably it's probably quite a daunting task for a lot of people.
Paul has that. Paul, hi, good afternoon. Paul says, let's be totally honest here. The only reason the younger generation are turning away from Xmas turkey is because they're too
Xmas?
His words.
Christmas.
I mean, Christmas, all right, Christmas, whatever. Because they're too bone idle to cook it. It can't be done in the microwave. They are not interested. Oh dear, and how sad. Will you be having turkey at Christmas? You're going to probably go and send it with your family, aren't you?
Yeah, so I think I will be having Christmas. We usually have turkey at Christmas. Although, as we discussed, that might not be as traditional as we think. Apparently, it came to this country in the 1950s. So perhaps it's open season in terms of what we can have for Christmas or indeed Boxing Day. Because
Go on, you can't wait, can
An
you?
enterprising producer here at GB News has run out and discovered at the local unnamed supermarket near us what they're labelling a Boxing Day. What does it say? A Boxing Day curry wrap. Now, I didn't think that curry was so traditional on Boxing Day.
Ooh. Well, turkey curry is making use of leftovers.
But I mean, we can sort of test how Christmassy this all feels. I think now that the days are getting shorter again, the nights are coming in at about 4:30 in the evening. It's getting dark.
Oh,
it feels a bit Christmassy. You can really smell the curry, can't you?
Really, if we had smelly vision, it smells very curry-fied.
OK, am I going to feel Christmassy? That's the question.
Yes, go on. Let's try.
OK.
Go on. Eating on camera is so never a good look, is it?
This is how Ed Miliband ruined his career. This is.
You haven't got one to ruin, so you're fine.
It's true.
Go on.
Right, OK.
If you're listening on the radio, Tom Harwood is eating a curry turkey wrap. and going a very, very strange shade of green.
It's
It has to be
actually
kept. It
delicious.
smells.
It's actually delicious. But I have to say, if anything, I feel less Christmassy than I did before.
Yeah, and
there is literally nothing Christmassy about this sort of Indian Mexican fusion dish.
Yes.
I don't quite understand why it's being associated with Boxing Day, why it's being marketed as a Boxing Day curry wrap.
Because nobody ever finishes the entire turkey on Christmas Day, so you can make a turkey curry with it. I mean, lots of people do that.
Oh, OK.
Or you can have cold turkey in sandwiches, and that's kind of like a sandwich. It's a wrapped
I
type of
see.
thing.
It's what it's trying to say. If it was leftover curry wrap, leftover turkey curry wrap, it probably would sell less well.
On Boxing Day, and it's probably very good for a hangover as well. Not that you'll have one. And turkey can be cooked in a microwave, I've just been informed in my ear.
Not well.
I don't cook anything in a microwave, to be honest with you. I don't cook full stop. But evidently 10 million turkeys are eaten in the UK on Christmas Day every single year. And it was indeed started by Henry VIII of England, one of the first English monarchs to eat turkey as part of a Christmas meal, establishing the bird as a festive must-have.
Wow.
However, it wasn't until the Victorians that turkey became the centrepiece. And obviously, with Charles Dickens, with A Christmas Carol, the turkey has the starring role.
Oh, no, it sounds really interesting. Well done,
Talking, but did you know, right, my boring talk, the heaviest turkey on record weighed a whopping 39 kilograms, which I think is about 5 stone.
You're listening to Turkey Facts here on GB News. We'll be with you for the next 6 hours. And if you do enjoy your avian factoids, then this is the place to hear them.
Yes, if you want to get some scintillating debate and intelligent news, though, I think Martin Daubney is up next.
Martin,
turkey curry, that can get stuffed. And something else that can get stuffed is the great Remainer myth that 4% of GDP in the UK was taken away by Brexit today. I will expose that as a complete and utter fantasy in 2 simple charts. It will say stop blaming Brexit and start looking in the mirror about this country's economic woes. Plus, a vicious hate campaign was walled in Caerphilly. I'll be joined by the Reform MP who will spill the beans on that. And hairstyle makeovers for asylum seekers. Surely a harebrained idea that deserves a brush off. That's all coming in 3 till 6, but first is your weather forecast.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After a chilly start this morning, tonight will be milder. There will be some spells of rain though, and it is going to be rather windy across much of the country, particularly across Northern Ireland, where we'll start to see outbreaks of rain this afternoon, all down to low pressure, pushing in these frontal systems, so cloud, rain, and also some quite strong gusty winds. Where we have our weather warning issued for Northern Ireland, we could see wind speeds of between 50 to 60 miles per hour. It's going to be turning blustery for all though. This band of heavy rain shifts its way eastwards into the North Sea, turning a little drier for a time as we head closer towards dawn, though we can't rule out some showers lingering around for some. Nevertheless, though, it is going to be a milder start to the day, many towns and cities in the low double digits. So we'll see a mix of clouds, some clearer skies to start the day. There will be some showers quickly moving through, though, particularly across the south, some heavy showers pushing up from the English Channel there. Some of these could be quite heavy, and it is going to be quite blustery, particularly around any western coasts. But for Northern Ireland, it is going to be a much brighter start than what we saw this morning. And similar across parts of Scotland, a mix of clouds, some clearer skies towards the north, though we can't rule out a risk of showers. And that is the theme through much of the day, though some of these showers could be quite heavy. Some bring some quite intense downpours, particularly this area into the west as we head towards the afternoon. Some strong blustery winds and some heavy bands of rain. This could bring in some hail and thunder. And it is going to be quite a blustery day for all, but with the slightly blustery weather, that does bring in some milder air, so highs reaching around 16 to 17 degrees Celsius in the south. Through into the evening, for any trick-or-treaters that might be out and about, there'll be once again a mix of some drier spells and also some showers. These showers turning to quite an intense band of rain across parts of the southwest through the course of the evening. And as we progress into the weekend, the showery theme continues, though it should start to feel a little bit milder from Monday onwards.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
The Daily Mail are going on a headline, woke gardens to tackle absenteeism, and stop asking people's questions, it makes them anxious. Now,
of course it makes you anxious.
It's your job.
Yeah, so I mean, I get where they're going, and it's very easy to go with the popular view here. But I think they're not saying all pupils. They're asking to take into account that there may be, in certain sets of the classes, neurodivergent people, autistic, for whom it does make it. So I do work with children who've been in care, and sometimes I've got people in the room who are autistic, and because I'm energetic and stuff, I've got to be very careful how I approach them. So sometimes, if I'm asking a question, I won't even look.
But Chris, I don't think that you can break up. You can sit and say, well, we've got Dawn, better not ask her that. Chris, I can't ask her this. And whatever. You know, you can't keep differentiating and cutting things up like that. I think you have to relook at what teachers are expected to do.
I think if we're preparing children for the outside world, we have to be tougher with them than we are. Now, you can't wrap them up in cotton wool.
Okay.
The world does not revolve around them. They have to toughen up, sorry.
And you will be asked questions in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. So are you saying that exclude them from the classroom so that you can concentrate on the main body?
But yes.
Okay. Well, okay. I mean, okay. That might be a solution. Well, so you go back to having schools that cater for.
Do you see when people say questions make you anxious? Yes, I was anxious.
Yeah. We all are. I was anxious when I went to the track, and as a World Cup athlete, I was still anxious when you go to the final. Yeah, we get that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 3 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News. We're broadcasting for you live across the UK, all the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. And here's what's coming up on today's action-packed show.
If Rachel Reeves raised taxes, then she should go. If she has broken the law, then she should go.
Yes, pressure is mounting on Sir Keir Starmer to sack his under-fire Chancellor Rachel Reeves after she was caught illegally renting out her home. So, should she stay or should she go? I'll be joined in the studio by Reform UK's Lee Anderson. And President Trump orders the immediate testing of the US nuclear arsenal just hours after Russia announced its testing of a nuclear-capable underwater drone. And meanwhile, Rachel Reeves is gearing up to blame Brexit for a 4% drop in the UK's GDP and paved the way for a stinging 2% income tax hike. But on today's show, Alex Scrutiny revealed data that finally torpedoes Labour's Remainer lies and proves that we're finally better off out. And the Reform candidate for Caerphilly claims he was subjected to a vicious hate campaign in the recent by-election. I'll be joined in the studio by Claire Powell, who reveal exclusive pictures of the vandalism from what's been called the most abusive election in living memory. That's all coming up in your next hour. Should she stay or should she go? Isn't it funny how every time a Labour politician makes a mistake, they are given bad advice? Oh, I didn't really realise it was a mistake. Silly me. I'll just apologise and let's all move on. It was Angela Rayner who had bad advice over stamp duty. This time, Rachel Reeves wasn't quite clear about the rules on licences to rent out in Southwark, in an area, I hasten to add, where her sister, Eddie Reeves, is the local MP. Is it really logical they could not have known? And on today's show, that great Remainer myth, 2% of GDP of the UK was annihilated by Brexit. It's codswallop. And today, I'm going to prove it. We've got the charts, we've got the facts. This is the real deal. Anytime anybody in the future tells you it was Brexit what wrecked it, we're going to get you to pin these charts to their timelines. That includes the Prime Minister, that includes the Chancellor, it includes Ed Davey, it includes every single one of them. We're going to give you the information to make sure you win all the arguments. Get in touch, GBNews.com/your say is a way to do so. But now it's your headlines, and here's Sam Francis.
Martin, thank you, and good afternoon to you. Just coming up to 3 minutes past 3. The top story this hour, Sir Keir Starmer has ruled out an investigation into the Chancellor after she admitted breaking housing rules by renting out her London home without the proper licence. Ms Reeves apologised for what she called an inadvertent error, saying she hadn't realised a selective licence was required. The Prime Minister says he is satisfied that the matter is now closed, but the Conservatives insist Rachel Reeves should face a full inquiry. Kemi Badenoch told us earlier Rachel Reeves should be sacked if she's found to have broken the law.
I've just spoken to 2 landlords this morning who rent homes in Southwark, and they said that they spent thousands of pounds on these lettings regulations, and she should not be allowed to get off scot-free. I think there needs to be an investigation. If she has broken the law, then she should go. In Keir Starmer's own words, lawmakers should not be lawbreakers.
Well, more from Kemi Badenoch now, and she has warned that Rachel Reeves should also be sacked if she raises taxes in next month's budget. At a pre-budget rally today, the Conservative leader accused Labour of breaking promises and delivering high taxes and out-of-control spending. It follows Sir Keir Starmer's refusal not to repeat his pledge not to raise income tax, national insurance or VAT, fuelling speculation of major tax hikes to fill a now £20 billion hole in the public finances. Labour says the Conservatives have no credibility on the economy and insists it's focusing on fixing the long-term damage and putting money back into people's pockets. In other news, a former Afghan asylum seeker has appeared in court accused of murdering a dog walker and stabbing 2 people he lived with in West London. 22-year-old Safi Dawood is charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. He's been remanded in custody today after a brief hearing. Emergency services were called to Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge on Monday evening to reports of a triple stabbing where 49-year-old Wayne Broadhurst was killed while walking his dog. Prosecutors say Dawood had been lodging with the 2 other victims, a 45-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy, both of whom remain in hospital with serious injuries. The Prince and Princess of Wales have condemned what they described as grossly intrusive paparazzi photos taken of their children during a private skiing holiday in France. A French court ruled that Paris Match magazine breached the family's privacy and image rights after publishing long-lens photos and personal details of their trip to the Alps in April. The article included shots of William, of Kate and their 3 children on the slopes, all taken without their consent. The court found the magazine had seriously violated their private life, siding with the couple in their legal action. President Donald Trump has announced plans to resume US nuclear weapons testing for the first time in more than 30 years. In a post on social media, he said the move was needed to keep pace with Russia and China. That was just hours before meeting President Xi Jinping in South Korea. The US hasn't carried out a nuclear test since 1992, but Mr. Trump said the process will begin immediately, marking a major shift in US defence policy. And the UK government has chartered emergency flights to help British nationals leave Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa tore across the Caribbean. Up to 8,000 Britons are believed to be on the island, now reeling from one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes in history. Tourists have been ordered to stay indoors, many still locked down in hotels, as Jamaica continues to recover from the widespread devastation. Those are the headlines. I'll be back with you in around half an hour's time. Next, though, a look at the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
6 minutes past 3, here are the markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3173, $1.1361 euros. The price of gold is £3,026, 3 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,699 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thank you, Sam. Now, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, admitted breaking local housing rules by renting out her London home without the proper licence. Now, the property in Southwark was let out around £3,200 a month after she moved into Downing Street following Labour's election win. Now, this all comes as the Chancellor is said to be considering an increase to income tax at the budget. And I'm joined in the studio by GB News' political editor, Chris Hope. Chris, welcome to the show. Quite simply, here we go again. Angela Rayner came a cropper over stamp duty, over a £40,000 error. And here we are again. Another paperwork error, another oversight. Is there anything to see here? Or could Rachel Reeves be facing the same brush-off as Angela Rayner?
This is a bit different. They are both technical breaches there, but it's different because we can't see how Rachel Reeves has enriched herself by this mistake. She hasn't got a property licence properly for it to be let out to a family or whoever's living in the property, as you have to where she lives. But it's not really clear how she's enriching herself. Angela Rayner's mistake was to not pay the right amount of tax, which is much more serious, I think. Although it is a breach of licensing rules, she has supported the actual licensing rules that she's breached in her home constituency in Leeds this month. So it's deeply embarrassing, and she could have to pay back maybe £38,000 as being mooted by the Telegraph this afternoon because she's unlawfully renting out property to the family. Why it matters is because the licence means that you have to provide safety certificates, keep it at a certain level of presentability, and all that kind of thing. So that's why it matters.
And the licence costs £900 each from
plus
Southwark,
more possibly if you
Southwark Council.
Advisory support.
And you know, we can all complain. This is town hall bureaucracy. It's red tape. True. But it is legal. £900 the licence. Without that, you're not legally entitled to draw this rent. Therefore, she may have to pay.
And the problem is landlords have to do this, and it is
every landlord in the land.
Everyone's tied up in red tape. This is a classic bit of red tape that landlords have to deal with. They don't like doing it. They look at the bosses around the country, the ministers. Why are they doing it too? And that's what's so infuriating. But on the narrow point of whether she's better off, she's certainly worse off now because she may have to pay a fine.
So she's definitely £900 better off by not paying for the licence. So far, though, she's received the backing of the Prime Minister, but then so did Angela Rayner. And look how that ended up.
Yes. Well, what's that? Well, not just the PM, but also Laurie Magnus, who is the ministerial advisor on interest, and he reviewed it very quickly overnight. I mean, before we'd even read the Daily Mail front page overnight, we'd have a letter to and from Rachel Reeves to the Prime Minister saying, oh, nothing to see here, an apology is fine. But there's pressure today on where it goes next. And I think we're watching the papers overnight because people are concerned about this. What will Southwark Council do? Will they investigate? What will that mean for Rachel Reeves? Yeah, it's more kind of problems here with her, how she conducts herself in her private life. We saw her rewrite elements of her online CV earlier this year on LinkedIn. Yeah. It's raising question marks about her.
It's worth pointing out that Southwark Council is very, very Labour-ran. You know, I know that because I live in the area. It's also worth pointing out that the MP for the constituency is Ellie Reeves.
Her sister.
Who is her sister. Now, Ellie Reeves must know the legislation around plan. I'm not saying that she's implicated, I'm saying, but this is like almost like a double identity. It's like both of them didn't see this coming.
It's an oversight, and we're told by Number 10 that according to Ms Reeves, she thought that she hadn't been told to do this by the estate agent, but that really isn't any defence. So down onto the landlords to know what the law is as it is on paying your taxes.
OK, well, Chris, stick with us because we're on to our favourite topic, of course. It's Brexit. Staying with the Chancellor because Mrs Reeves has claimed that Brexit is partly to blame for high inflation in the UK, as she made the case for rebuilding ties with the European Union during her visit to Saudi Arabia